What is going on, Casually FC? Welcome to another installment of the Casually Chelsea show. A little bit of an emergency Casually Chelsea show. Why? Because Chelsea Football Club have appointed their new head coach, Enzo Maresca. And we are going to talk about everything that led up to this moment. We're going to talk about what the options were. We're going to talk about Enzo Maresca himself, his quotes, what he has said and stated, his tactics, his way of playing, as well as the bit of a hypocrisy we've seen from the Chelsea fan base reacting to their reactions, as well as the expectations for Enzo Maresca, the recruitment team, and the ownership this season. Sorry that it is extremely late, ladies and gentlemen. This was not planned at all. I meant to take a week off from Casually FC to prepare for the Casually Chelsea show tomorrow, the Chelsea Casually Awards show. That's going to be an awesome show, but this is tremendous news that we needed to discuss. And so it was planned last minute. I built the show very last minute. I am extremely stressed, but at the end of the day, I think we got something for you guys to tell you all the context you need in regards to this saga that we just went through for the past week since the sacking of Pochettino or the departure of Pochettino, whatever you would like to believe. Before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, big up. Be sure to smash up the like button. Be sure to subscribe because we are only 5 away from 2.7 and 300 away once we get to that to 3K. We are trying to hit our 3K mark because it does help out the channel tremendously. It's a giant milestone and we will celebrate it as well. And no, I did not fall asleep. I've just been building the show backstage and it has been taking me a while. Very thankful for the panel for being patient and waiting. Big up to Scott, big up to Oliver, and myself, the host, Marshalldbdx. Like the show, subscribe, hit the bell notification, check out the links in the description, and check out the memberships. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is time we start the first part of our show today, and that's going to be discussing the context or what happened in terms of before this all went down. And we're going to give you a little bit of a little history before we get into the options in each individual, what happened to each option on that short list before we get to the Enzo part, right? So starting off with a little pretext as to where we left off on the saga. Last we spoke on this, Pochettino had parted ways. There was a short list. Matt Law came out with the whole spiel about how training methods were antiquated. They didn't share the same vision. Man wanted Enzo to be sold and to keep Conor Gallagher. And there's so many things I have to complain about Poch to the point where like I'm so betrayed and I feel so vexed that I even gave this guy the time of day to give us next season. But that's something we could probably discuss later in the show. Firstly, we have here first tweet. Coming from Kieran Gill, who's been very involved with the saga. Win Stanley and Stewart worked 17-hour days ever since Pochettino left to find a new coach, which in a sense, I think it kind of gives me the idea and tells me that it wasn't planned for Pochettino to part ways, but the way things went down in the conversation and the review, it was unexpected, but it needed to be something that happened. We continue on. Why isn't this zoomed in? Okay, give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, breaking. Next Chelsea manager will be under pressure to deliver UCL football and compete for trophies. And we'll discuss this shortly when we get to the Enzo part. But I personally don't think this is very unrealistic considering we got to top 6 with a manager that had no tactics and strictly pretty much based on individual performances. We continue on. Compensation, buyout. This is for each of the managers on that short list that we saw earlier. Maresca in the region around £10 million. Thomas Frank, more than £3 million. Kieran McKenna, less than half of £10 million. And De Zerbi, £5 million compensation, according to Matt Law and The Telegraph. We continue on. Kieran McKenna, Thomas Frank, and Vincent Kompany to be considered on Pochettino's replacement at Chelsea. Then we continue on. That Sebastian Hoeneß, who was on the original shortlist, ended up not being on the final list, and also didn't want to leave his position at Stuttgart, and Michel is considered untouchable. Then we have here Chelsea drop interest in Honus and Michel. Frank, McKenna, and Maresca have all made the shortlist, followed by an unnamed fourth coach. Later on, we find out that an unnamed fourth coach was Roberto De Zerbi. Kieran McKenna, also Brighton want and wait for him. Enzo Maresca, Thomas Frank all remain on Chelsea's list, but it's all still open to other candidates as internal talks continue. So we have here the original Fabrizio tweet. Have all been mentioned internally at Chelsea. Sebastian Hoeneß remains highly rated, but considered difficult to appoint, and no talks of company. Tuchel, Flick, or Conte, we discussed this. So we continue on. Enzo Maresca is leading candidate for the Chelsea managerial role. So, I mean, based off of what we've seen here so far, based on what this whole led up to, I mean, I guess since we haven't spoken since last time, guys, I do want to ask you guys, how were you feeling going into this based on how the short list was diminishing?
I was just asking why Thomas Frank was on it.
I mean, he was my least favorite of all the options.
So the sporting directors or whoever it was, the club, I guess, put out briefs basically with a remit of the style of play that they wanted. And Thomas Frank did not fit that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just asking why, pretty much up until Maresca actually got the appointment, because Thomas Frank was actually in the final two-man shortlist. He was the other guy, as far as we're aware.
Mm-hmm. Scott, how about you? How were you feeling about it?
I honestly didn't care that much, just because they were linking us with everyone. And so I was just taking the view of, I'm going to wait and see who the manager is, like wait until we actually sign someone before jumping to a conclusion. Because there's no point me getting irate and pissed off at, like, say, McKenna being on the shortlist. We found out, like, yesterday or the day before that they spoke to him and said he wasn't going to get the job. So I'd look like an idiot for getting irate for no reason. It's like, I was just going to wait until basically this moment where it's like, now we actually have the guy that, based on what we've heard, obviously it hasn't been fully signed, but it's good, as near as makes a difference based on Fabrizio's tweet. But yeah, that's kind of the view I took of it, is like, just wait and see, because we don't know what's going to happen, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I was essentially, and this is why I'm Team Scott, people. I was essentially of the same ilk. I couldn't be asked. There were so many fans just reacting over a manager they know very little to nothing about. That included everyone. Everyone was just iterating championship manager, almost bottled it at Leicester, so on and so forth. And we got a tweet that debunks half of this stuff. And listen, at the end of the day, Poch wasn't the answer. Poch was never the long-term appointment. There was a reason why they gave him a 2-year contract and not an even longer contract. And at the end of the day, this guy wanted basically a say in transfers. And you guys need to remember that when in the beginning of the summer he was linked to transfers, he wanted Ugarte, he wanted Gabriel Vega, I believe, was another option of his.
Yeah.
He wanted Mason Mount to stay and Kai Havertz to stay. And I think there's probably maybe another one in there. I can't remember. Oh, he wanted Dybala. He could have had an experience. Real quick, Oliver. He could have had an experienced striker in Vlahovic, and he turned that down, even though that would have benefited the club as well, swapping Romelu Lukaku over there and getting Vlahovic in that deal. But he turned that down as well. Oliver, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
There was also a report that said that he wanted the club to sign 1 or 2 players that he'd worked with previously.
Yeah, there was a report about that as well. And at the end of the day, guys, there's one thing that I've learned in the recent years, and so on and so forth, is that one of the downfalls of Chelsea under Roman was the fact that the sacking and hiring of managers kept leading to managers having to work with the previous garbage that the other manager had left behind. So no managers were ever truly backed in a sense when it came to taking over a club. There's a reason, why Tuchel had to still work with Alonso, and I mean, who else was in that team that we needed to get rid of? I mean, there was Drinkwater was still in the team under Tuchel, just not in the first team. We still had to deal with Zappacosta was still in the club. Michi Batshuayi, who we ended up seeing in preseason for Tuchel. All these signings that were not Tuchel signings, so on and so forth. I'm not trying to have a pity party for Tuchel. I'm just saying that's an example of a manager having the previous issue, having to deal with players that were signed for a previous manager and making it work somehow, which is never really a feasible way to manage a club. And so that needed to stop. And I think they did the right thing in sacking Poch as that being one of the reasons, because we can't keep building for a manager who, at the end of next season, he was potentially going to leave because he only signed a 2-year contract with a +1. So why sign players for a manager who's not going to be here long term? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So if we're going to be doing a project, it doesn't make sense to sign for a short-term manager. That's the way I see it. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that.
I think that's the misconception that people have. When we talk about a project, the project isn't the manager. The project is the project. The manager, just like the players, are interchangeable. That's the whole point of what this is.
So moving on to the whole mystery manager saga and people thinking it was Ruben Amorim. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ruben Amorim as well, right? Chelsea have started formal interviews with candidates. There is understood to be a fourth mystery man involved in the race between McKenna, Frank, and Maresca. Then we have here, Chelsea have held long-term interest in Ruben Amorim, would be £12.8 million, a hefty fee given the club are towing a fine line with competing with PNS, so Profit and Sustainability, if I remember correctly. And that's going for Sammy Mockbell. Mind you guys, just before we continue on, my first choices, Ruben Amorim. I wanted Tuchel to come back. Flick was in there. I entertained Sarri. So those are like my choices. So let's not pretend, I'm not going to sit here and pretend too that these were like my ideal choices, right? I am a little disappointed, and I did say in the previous stream, I am nervous that this could be the wrong appointment. I don't know. We're going into the unknown. So rightfully so, I think Chelsea fans should be nervous. I understand that. It makes sense. I think it's the over-the-top criticism of managers that they know nothing about where I have an issue. But we continue on. Ruben Amorim was on that list. It was an interesting one, right? Or he wasn't on the list, but he was one that was linked to us earlier in the season. So Fabrizio Romano here reports then, Ruben Amorim's not in talks with Chelsea despite links as CFC want a manager who has worked in English football. Kieran McKenna also out of the list and set to decide his future between this week with Brighton waiting for his final decision. Now, we'll talk more on Kieran McKenna, what happened with that link. But that was what happened with Ruben Amorim, and repeating myself here pretty much, no Ruben Amorim because Chelsea want a manager who has worked in English football. So yeah, it's an interesting one. As I said on playback earlier, this is Alex Goldberg. Let's see. I believe Ruben Amorim is the guy Chelsea want, and I believe he's very much keen. But it's kept under wraps as much as possible for two obvious reasons. So I don't really care. So Alex Goldberg was wrong about that. He's not necessarily a credible source, anyways. Then we continue on here. Managerial update. This is what we were left with. So Hoeneß did not want to leave Stuttgart. Michel was untouchable, or Michael. We're going to call him Mike, okay? Or Mitch, okay? We're just going to keep it simple. And then Ruben Amorim is not on that short list. So then we get the reveal of De Zerbi being that fourth man in that list. So we'll talk about De Zerbi, but let's continue with this one then. Managerial update. De Zerbi, Egbali struck by his personality, according to Miguel Delaney. This is all his info here. Maresca, club hierarchy's choice. McKenna, concerns over whether he is ready for the step up. And Frank, third favorite by some distance. So I think even the board weren't really fans of Frank, which gave me some relief. He was my least favorite of all the choices. I will not lie to you guys. So let's go ahead and read up on De Zerbi and what happened with this. So Roberto De Zerbi's football is widely admired as Chelsea search for coach who can dominate possession and control matches. Then we have here De Zerbi is available for around £5 million compensation. We'll continue on. Roberto De Zerbi is also being considered by Chelsea as they seek a quick appointment to replace Pochettino. Continuing on, De Zerbi would have to demonstrate that he could work within Chelsea's club structure with sporting directors Paul Winstanley, Lawrence Stewart to stand any chance of getting the job ahead of Maresca, McKenna, and Frank. Down here, we also have De Zerbi is well known to Sam Jewell, who joined Chelsea as director of global recruitment from Brighton earlier this month. Mikhailo Mudryk, who played under him at Shakhtar Donetsk, and record signing Moises Caicedo. So, listen, I could see why people were linking the job to Roberto De Zerbi. There are people who have worked with him within the club. There are players who have trained under him, under the club. So it seemed to a certain extent like a match made in heaven. But the personality was a bit of a sticking point, I believe. Then we continue on here. Senior sources have played down Chelsea's interest in Roberto De Zerbi. And then finally, we have here Roberto De Zerbi is surprise candidate for Manchester United job. It turns out Roberto De Zerbi was not the manager that we chose. And I know, Scott, I'm sure you have a few things you want to mention about De Zerbi. And I guess I'll ask you this to begin is, do you think that he would have fit the job?
Yes. I think his style of play and the formation he plays would have fit very well with a lot of our players. There might have been a couple of players that may have had to adapt or whatnot, but I think he worked. I think Maresca worked the same way. I think that a lot of the list, in terms of that was compiled, fit a lot of the players we had, which is nice to see. But yeah, I think De Zerbi would have worked great. I do believe he can be better with a better squad, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does going forward. But yeah, I was all for De Zerbi coming because I like his football. I think it's proven to have worked in terms of an attacking sense. Yeah, it would have been good.
So obviously, I'm going to ask you this too, because you pay more closer attention to De Zerbi than most of the Chelsea fan base. I think it's safe to say. Why? So for the people who were in doubt about De Zerbi, why do you think that was, and why do you think that, despite those reasons, he was still the right appointment? I guess.
I think people just look at things on the face of it with no context or with no with no context, or just like very much at face value. Because like if you do look at it at face value, they conceded a lot of goals last season. They didn't score a lot of goals or as many goals they did the season before. They finished 11th. But it's like if you look at it, this is a team that didn't strengthen in January at all when they needed to, and when De Zerbi was asking them to, and they didn't strengthen at all. In fact, they got rid of players. We're talking about a team that lost key attacking pieces, and where I'll give De Zerbi the benefit of the doubt, where I won't give Poch, is De Zerbi still tried to play the same football. Like, he still tried to play the same football despite missing Mitoma, who was so good for him last season, despite missing Enciso, who was good for him like for large portions of the season. Excuse me. And whatnot. And like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that sense. And obviously he lost two big components in his team in McAllister and in Caicedo, and didn't really replace them. They weren't really replaced in the team. So that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of those things. It's also, you look at, as I said, it's just his football in terms of, I think it works. I think it's quite simple. It's not, simple is the wrong word, but it's got very core and easy to follow kind of bases, the foundations. And it's been proven to improve players in a sense where it's like, you look at Dunk, no one's going to tell me he's an incredible ball-playing centre-back, but he became a good ball-playing centre-back under De Zerbi. You look at Caicedo, no one was saying that he was this incredible ball-playing midfielder. He became that under De Zerbi. Mitoma had his place in that team. He's not a great player, but he's very effective at a few things, and De Zerbi was able to get the effectiveness. As many effects, like he found to get the best out of those effective kind of traits. But as I said, I think with a lot of criticisms, it just comes down to not looking at context, or just very much like just looking at things at face value. Like people would tell me, "Oh, he's never won anything." Cool, neither had Sarri. People would tell me, "Oh, he defensively he was terrible." Cool, so was Tottenham, so was us, so was Aston Villa. Like if you look at the goals they conceded. So like I think there are ways. I'm not saying he's the best manager in the world, but like I think he would have worked. And then, as I said, of the options that were on the list, he was certainly my number one. Outside of maybe Amorim, but I don't know if Amorim was ever a true consideration.
Yeah, fairs. I mean, Oliver, do you want to add anything to what Scott said?
I agree with pretty much all of that. All I really have to add is I think another reason that people would be put off by him, probably the fact that it's going to incite groans from a lot of people, the fact that we'd be going for another Brighton star.
Yeah,
that's just like, I don't know. I think I don't know how much of that is cited in it is how much of that is like from objectivity, or if it's just like, oh, here we go again, Brighton. Because as we've seen, signing Brighton players can work, signing Brighton staff can work. Look at Ashworth, etc. It can work. It's just that we've gone a way about it where we signed Graham Potter and that was a disaster. So people are going to cling on to that and say, oh, well, Brighton managers can't work at this level.
I mean, to add on to what Scott was saying, right? Like, listen, I do have a bias against De Zerbi, and I admit it, and I know where my biases lie, and I know where I was unfair on him, right? I think a lot of my biases lie from the things he said about Chelsea prior to the season, about Caicedo, so on and so forth. I think a few of those also lie with the fact that, I mean, I just... Brighton in general did not sit well with me after the whole transfer sagas. That's nothing to do with him. Obviously, I just don't like Brighton for that reason. I think Potter kind of, tainted my view on Brighton a little bit, but that's neither here or there. I think part of the issue that I had with De Zerbi coming to this club, and I mean, maybe you guys can kind of elaborate why this wouldn't have been an issue, if you think it wasn't going to be an issue. I think it's safe to say that De Zerbi has quite a fiery character, which, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, the ownership wanted a yes man. Like, again, I think that's a term that's been overblown and has been just thrown out there because it's just something that you want to reiterate and regurgitate because someone else said it and it seemed to get clicks. Like, I think people are just striving for attention, so they throw in like buzzwords like yes man. Listen, at the end of the day, I spoke about it last week. All of us on this panel, all of us in this chat, unless you're an entrepreneur, own your own business, or are whatever, your own person, you're a yes man. You show up and you take orders or whatever from a boss, and you do a job that was assigned to you from a higher person. And at the end of the day, a manager like De Zerbi, sure, he was going to do a job. And I'm sure he would like to have a little bit more say in things. I'm sure he was going to say some things that he was frustrated with in press conferences and stuff. And you saw how he left Brighton. It seemed like there was just an indifference between Brighton and him. At the end of the day, if he were to come to Chelsea, I feel like that wouldn't have worked. I think he would have seen things differently eventually down the line with Chelsea, that when Stanley and Lawrence Stewart didn't really want to go down in terms of a path or building this team. I mean, do you guys think that differently about that? Do you think that maybe we would have made that work regardless?
Excuse me, I do, just because, like, I think the thing that he fell out with the Brighton owners about, well, I say fell out, the thing that he voiced his frustrations about, let's say, was to do with transfers, and it wasn't that he had no say, it was the fact they didn't make any transfers in January. That's where his what's it called? That's where his frustrations came from, is the fact that they made no signings in January and they needed recruitment badly because of the injuries. So like that's where I think their frustration would come. So I think as long as the club were to make signings and and to back him in terms of in terms of from a financial perspective,
Yeah.
I think he would have been fine because outside of that, like there was no issue he really had at Brighton in terms of falling out with the board or anything. The only real issue
he came
had
into
was the fact
Brighton knowing fully well what kind of a team it was. So obviously,
No, I know, but I think Marshall, there's a difference, right? Or there's because this has happened before, and he's been at clubs, right? He was at Sassuolo, right? And they nearly lost their best
players picked off with him. Pellegrini, right?
and they nearly lost their best player to I think Juventus, but he said no, he turned it down. But it's more a case of I don't think it was losing like the players he lost. It was then they didn't replace them. Like their replacements were. I actually don't think they got a single replacement for McAllister in terms of actual bringing a player in. If they did, it was Mahmoud Dahoud, who then they loaned out 6 months into the season. And then the replacement for Caicedo was a 20-year-old from Lille who had played like a season of top-level football. It's like it's not exactly the
ideal,
the same in terms of like it's not really a one-to-one kind of like replacement, if you see what I mean.
And I'll even say this too, because people are going to bring up that the season he had was a very tumultuous one, and his football started to decline towards the end. Listen, as much as I want to have a De Zerbi agenda, if I need to be honest, and I'm going to be honest about this, he already had a team that was stripped of his star players, right? Which I don't think he had an issue that the team was stripped of star players, much like what Scott was saying. It's the fact that Brighton never went ahead and really replaced them, ideally, with players of equal or potential or of equal level. Which, again, it's going to be hard because it's McAllister and Caicedo. Like, you're seeing what they're doing in Liverpool and Chelsea. They're really, really good players, and it's going to be really hard to replace those kind of players, right? But because there was no replacing those players, even those players that he had in the starting 11 that got hurt, the squad depth at Brighton isn't the squad depth that you're going to have at Chelsea. So at the end of the day, like, what was he really meant to do with a lack of players that were going to be there to really instill his system in the ideal way, right? It's not optimal. So I think in the situation that he was in, he lacked resources to really keep up with the style of football that he wanted to play. And I mean, as far as getting along with the ownership, like, listen, I think he would have been fiery. I think he would have had some snap comments at the ownership from time to time with frustration, right? If we didn't back him in terms of like players, not necessarily specific players, but at least profiles. But I don't think he would have lost his job because of that. I was more so worried that he would, bicker back and forth with Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart. But I mean, is that reasonable? Would you say then, Scott, that because of the injuries, because of the depth, like you were mentioning, is why they look at Chelsea fans look at that picture of De Zerbi and see that decline and think this guy's not good enough?
Yeah, 100%. And I think Oliver said it as well. Like, it comes down to the fact he worked for Brighton. Like, I think if this was a guy coming from like basically any other club in the Premier League, then they'd be feeling different. It's just because the whole Potter thing and the one of the sporting directors and some of the backroom staff and this, that, and the other. It's like it doesn't look great. I understand how it looks. I don't particularly care because I think this happens all the time. Like Bayern bought players off of Dortmund for years, still do. Well,
of course.
Actually, I don't know if they still do. To be fair, but yeah, they bought players off Dortmund for years and no one cared. Liverpool bought players and whatnot off of Southampton for years and no one cared. Tottenham bought players off of Southampton and a manager from Southampton, like for a season or two because of Poch, and no one cared. So like,
it's almost like we're trying to do what other successful clubs are doing. Who would have thought? Listen, and honestly, when it comes to the recruitment, I've had a lot of time to really think about this recruitment and hearing a lot of people talk on it. And we'll discuss it a little more, but now I'm thinking a little differently on the recruitment. But I'll get to it, and let's see if you guys agree. And the rest of the panel, who may or may not arrive later today, will let us know as well. But I think that's a good overall evaluation on the Zerbi and why it would have worked. Unfortunately, he didn't get picked, right? So we move on and we talk about the other ones that were on that list. And this is the last one we're going to talk about before we get to the nitty gritty on Enzo, right? But let's talk about McKenna. So I have here a few tweets that led up to what actually happened in the decision of McKenna. And I think McKenna was, for a while, argued to be the number one choice, and people were linking him to the job nonstop. It looked like he was going to be the one that got the job. And then we went to Amron, and we went to the Zerbi, and now all of a sudden Enzo's back, and there's just a bunch of, it's been a roller coaster, guys. So it's been hard to like keep up with a lot of it. Which is why I opted to do what Scott did and just kind of wait until it was finalized. And now we're here streaming about it. So let's start off with this first tweet I have here. Kieran McKenna is waiting on his number one choice, Man United. For those who do not know, and correct me if I'm wrong, panel, I believe he coached the under-18s for Tottenham Hotspur, right? And then he also was an assistant manager to Ollie when he was at Manchester United. Or not assistant manager, but he was in his... Yeah, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I was right. All right, cool. Sometimes I know stuff, guys. Then we continue on here. Kieran McKenna is waiting for Chelsea. He's received really important proposal from Brighton, but he's waiting for Chelsea, according to Fabrizio Romano. Then we continue on. Enzo Maresca remains keen on Chelsea job as he's given his availability after positive contacts over the weekend. Still waiting for club's final decision. Brighton want an answer from Kieran McKenna this week as talks advance to key stages. Then we have here the turnaround, the 180. Chelsea have informed Kieran McKenna on Sunday night that he was no longer in the race for head coach job. Direct call from CFC hierarchy. Brighton want an answer from McKenna by this week. Ruben Amorim never been in talks with Chelsea despite links. Now, we already know about this a little bit, but now this gives us a little more clarity. We decided to say to him, you are not the one that we want to continue this project going forward with. Now we have Chelsea phoned McKenna last night out of respect to let him know it was close, but he didn't quite make it. And then we have here Chelsea were turned down by McKenna, according to Jacob Steinberg. So two sides of the story, right? Two PR teams working against each other. At the end of the day, we will see who ended up being right. But time will tell what the truth was. So then we have here, Kieran McKenna is expected to sign a long-term contract at Ipswich. David Ornstein reporting here. So we will see Kieran McKenna next season, but not in a Chelsea kit or a Chelsea training kit. It will be for Ipswich Town, which I think, look, for me, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't with any of these managers. I like once the list came out, Kieran McKenna was very highly spoken of. I'm just whatever you guys see fit. Let's see what happens, right? Because at the end of the day, I think the idea of going for a system versus pedigree is what's dominating football now. And we're seeing it all around, and we're seeing less success with the Chelsea model, if you want to call it that, right? The Roman Abramovich model, and more success with the idea of building a project. So we'll continue on and we'll have that discussion. The hierarchy at Stamford Bridge have narrowed down the possibilities to select a group of candidates that does not include McKenna, according to David Ornstein 2 days ago. Oliver, I guess I'll go to you. What did you think about the McKenna links, and are you kind of relieved that he's not the guy, or is it really the same to you, McKenna or Enzo?
So at first, I thought it sounded promising, and again, like I didn't know a lot of the context at the beginning, so I hadn't done my full research. So I thought McKenna sounded pretty appealing. I mean, on the face of things, you know, the fact that he achieved a double promotion with Ipswich is a far bigger achievement than Maresca getting promotion with possibly one of the best teams in the one of the best like teams in terms of a group of players in the history of the Championship. Certainly one of the best paid. So it's definitely a very high level team that Leicester had. But for Ipswich, you know, that was a great achievement for them, and I thought it had promise. And you know, he's a highly rated manager, so I thought, you know what, this guy actually has something about him, maybe. But I started hearing some things. So I just started doing my own little research. Like I saw like what some Ipswich fans were saying, and I just realised then that it wouldn't fit what we're trying to do in terms of a possession-heavy, controlling type of manager. So, like for example, he seems to be more of the reactive type, set up to counter the opponent rather than enforce your style and your will upon the other team.
Sure.
Also, things about how he would probably like a player like Ben Chilwell, and I wouldn't. So that's just a personal preference thing. Same way he'd probably like Conor Gallagher. Again, I wouldn't. So that's personal preference. So slowly but surely, just kind of fell out of favour with me. And then the news came out that Ipswich were going to give him a contract and that he fell out of our race. So then I kind of stopped paying attention to it. But promising at first, but then as I started to learn a bit more, I started to sort of sour on it.
Okay, I understand. Prime, did you do any research on McKenna by chance? Do you know anything about him?
First of all, hello people.
We got man.
Yeah, well, he's had like 2 back-to-back promotions and stuff. I never really like truly believed in McKenna links. I assumed like he would either try and get a bumper contract at Ipswich or he would go to Brighton. I didn't believe that we would get him or Man United would get him.
But I mean, I guess you could also probably say the same thing about Maresca. Like I think most of us on the panel were convinced that it was going to be De Zerbi, based on that fourth candidate and the pedigree and the Brighton players that we have. Sam Jewell knows him. He's worked with people here. But my question to you is mostly like what I asked Oliver. Are you disappointed in any way that it wasn't McKenna and it ended up being Enzo Maresca?
No, I'm happy that's not McKenna. I think the reason why we didn't get De Zerbi is because I think he rejected us. I think he's going to Man United. I think he must have rejected us.
But why do you think why are you happy it wasn't McKenna?
Because I don't think he is ready for this job yet. Maybe Enzo isn't ready for it. Maybe it's a bit too early for Enzo as well. But like I've been saying with these owners, if we're gonna do these risks, try and make it the best bet possible. And they've actually done their research, and they think Enzo is like one of the best bets possible to make. And fair enough. I'm not gonna criticize them for actually now doing their due diligence when they didn't do it before. So I just want to and see how it pans out. We'll talk
about Enzo. Obviously, I mean that's the next topic. I just want to focus a little bit more on McKenna before we move on to that.
About McKenna. If McKenna is actually that good, if he's actually that good of a manager, he's actually that talented, then he will eventually get a top job. He doesn't need to jump for it right now. Like he's still but I'm I guess I'm glad in the way that's not him, because I just wasn't like looking. I don't know how to word this. It didn't rub me the right way. Like I didn't think that we would.
Something about it didn't feel right.
Yeah. So,
can I ask you this too? Why big up TJ in the chat all the time. Be sure to check out his channel, people. And big up Chelsea Fan TV. Welcome, man. We're just discussing this whole saga, and we're discussing, I guess, the potential future of Chelsea. We'll get to Enzo in a little bit, but why don't you think, Prime, that McKenna wasn't ready for the leap? And I guess it seems that you almost feel a little bit more secure that Enzo is taking that leap, even though they both come from Championship.
I mean, Enzo wasn't like one of my choices either. Like I wanted Amarin, and I was okay with getting De Zerbi, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because like the research I've actually done at it. Like the stuff I've been reading about Enzo and the stuff that we've been talking about, whether it be on here or on Ahmed's channel about Enzo, like I understand why they would go for him, and it kind of makes sense. I haven't done much research on McKenna, so maybe That's, I mean, maybe he would have been a good fit. I don't know, but it's just all the links that we've had towards him, and all the links Man United have had towards him. Whenever I've read them, I've always been thinking he either gets a new contract or he goes to Brighton. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's like that is going to get the Chelsea job or going to get the Man United job. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know how to explain it, but I just never had anything to worry about from that front.
Okay, fair enough. I guess with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue on, big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to everyone that is tuning into this stream right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, I ask that you guys smash that like button because it does help us out with the YouTube algorithm. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers, so the likes helps us be discovered. And if you are new here and if you haven't already subscribed, I ask you guys, please subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 3K and it would help us out tremendously. Listen, I have a nice big party planned for you guys if we hit 3K. So help us hit 3K. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be wonderful. And you'll come back to more brilliant content from us because we will be here all summer talking about transfers, news, and all that fun stuff in regards to Chelsea, especially now that things have been cranked up now that we have a brand new manager. Or a brand new head coach, we'll call him. But okay, let's get into talking about the meats and potatoes of this stream. Let's talk about Enzo Maresca. All right, we'll start off with the first part, which is, I guess, the appointment and the salary that he's going to be given, and then we'll move on to things like his quotes and the standard and you know the goals set for him and so on and so forth. So first tweet I have here is from Fabrizio Romano. Enzo Maresca favors Premier League over any other league despite approaches from Sevilla already rejected. He's waiting for Chelsea decision after talks in the recent days. Release clause is around 10 million euros after getting promoted. Leicester City also waiting for that. We continue on. Maresca has also informed Leicester City of his desire to sign for Chelsea. The agreement between Maresca and Chelsea on the contract is being sealed. No issues on salary. Understand also Maresca's staff is now also being discussed in the club-to-club compensation talks. Did I just skip two right there? I think I skipped one. There we go. I did. That was weird. Understand, Chelsea and Enzo Maresca are set to agree on contract terms. 2-year deal with option for further season or 3-year deal. This is the final details being clarified. Maresca already said yes to Chelsea project. Up to clubs now to agree on compensation. This was reported by Fabrizio yesterday, really. And then this drastically changed in the last 24 hours. Chelsea are in advanced talks to appoint Enzo Maresca as new head coach. Positive talks over the weekend. He's 100% keen and excited by CFC project. No issues on Maresca's contract already being discussed. Talks to follow with Leicester City over 10 million euro compensation fee. And then here is the big one, guys. Here is the here we go that we've all been waiting for. Maybe not all of us have been waiting for, but most of us have been waiting for a here we go. The decision, I should say. Chelsea have agreed to appoint Enzo Maresca as new head coach. Here we go. Understand agreement is now done on contract valid until June 2029, 5-year deal. That's a big one, guys, and we're going to discuss that. It's also included an option to extend until June 2023. CFC set to pay compensation fee to Leicester. Enzo Maresca 5+ 1 year deal, 1 year contract. Here's what impressed Chelsea and what made them excited for him. Conversation super positive. Loved his ideas. Obsession with possession, wants to control the game. He is modern and dynamic manager, and I hope when they mean dynamic, they mean dynamic, because Pochettino was definitely not dynamic. We continue on. Enzo Maresca's salary will be £4.2 million a year with some add-ons. Chelsea are expected to pay $8 million to Leicester in compensation, plus some fees on top for other staff. 5-year contract with the option of a 6th one. And then we'll come back to the rest of these tweets later on. But I guess to start things off, guys, Enzo Maresca is the here we go. He is going to be the next Chelsea head coach. I guess to start things off, I'll go first on this one. And then, Chris, I'll go to you because you just joined us. 5+1 is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. I think this is a statement by the recruitment team. Listen, we're not going to listen to the fans. We're going to do what we think is right, and we think this guy is the guy. And this is us putting our chips on the table. We're putting it all on black. And 5+1 is a big and a long contract. Obviously, it's not the same as Potter. Potter got paid a lot more in salary, but goddamn. I guess to give a little context too, because people want to say the owners never learned. I mean, to be fair, recruitment team didn't actually recruit Potter. So you can make the argument that the recruitment team never wanted Potter and the recruitment team came in. I know Vivell certainly did not want Potter to stay and wanted him sacked. So I guess, Chris, your thoughts on the Enzo Maresca appointment? I'm sure you're not happy with it, but I'll let you go on and speak.
I'm happy, man. We're getting top 4 with Maresca, easy. I was gonna say they did want Pochettino, they did want that manager, and that one failed. And this one, I'm not a big fan of it. If there's any championship manager, I would have chose Kenny because he actually was like 1 point off that Leicester team. That Leicester team is miles clear of like most teams in championship, probably better than all by quite a bit. That's why he has a lot of possession, because the team difference is massively. So I don't know about the whole possession thing. Yeah, he might continue with the possession thing with Chelsea, but I don't know. Like you said, the contract thing, I can believe it. I can believe they had a 5-year contract. He's not proven to me. He's not like done anything that special still. He won the league with Leicester. That ain't special at all. And he almost bottled it, by the way. He was like 10 points clear or something like that. And they went to
There's
1 point.
context to that. We'll go over it, but yeah.
Is there context?
Yeah, we'll go over it.
Okay. Because I don't watch a championship video, especially no, I haven't watched it before.
Really? You don't watch the championship? We couldn't tell.
I mean, okay.
None of you guys. I
no,
mean,
okay. If I'm wrong about, I doubt I'm wrong with the team because they had Leicester had Premier League players in the championship, by the way. From the Premier League.
That's a big point.
I know that team. I know the teams from like the other championship. They're not on the level as Leicester, so I can't understand why they picked this manager. I would have been okay with De Zerbi still. I've been like, okay, there's not many managers out there. De Zerbi would suit Chelsea, I thought, but this manager, I guess, kind of suits us as well. I just didn't want this guy. I don't think he's gonna be good enough. I think he ain't gonna last 5 years at Chelsea. He's gonna last like maybe. I think he'll last like 2 years or so. I think I think if he still finished top 6, they'll give him another season, but I don't see it really lasting like that. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm Maresca out or nothing like that. Like, I want him out now. There's no point. He's gonna be here for the season. I want to see if he does well at Chelsea. I hope he does well at Chelsea, of course, like, gets results and everything. But I just don't see it. I think it's a step backwards from Poch. I don't see a step forward really.
So Chris, I mean, you mentioned Poch, right, and how the recruitment team did appoint them. Do you think that? And listen. Obviously, I have a Poch agenda. I do not like the guy. But do you think that kind of like how we were sold a dream in the preseason and Poch did all this and all that with his speech and all that?
Yeah.
Do you think that perhaps Poch did the same exact thing to the recruitment team? Like on paper, right? If Poch had done the system that he had in preseason this whole season, then, and this is a hypothetical, people, okay? If Poch had done the system that he had in the beginning in preseason that he ended up using at the end, which I'm starting to think he started to do that to prove a statement. That's how fucking petty he was. But if he had implemented that throughout the whole season and we were only 5 points away from finishing top 4, and he exceeded expectations and got us into top 4, don't you think the recruitment team then would have been right to actually appoint Pochettino?
Yeah, like, I don't know who said yeah, but I agree with that. Yes, because like I think their aim was to get Champions League football again, and we failed to do that, so that's why they probably got rid of him. We got Conference League, yay. So yeah, like you would be right there, but Poch didn't do that. He still failed. The first half of the season was dreadful compared to the second half.
So that's why I asked you, do you think Pochettino, in a sense, swindled the recruitment team and the fans in general?
Well, yeah, because I actually did like preseason football. I think most of us liked the preseason football. It was fluid. It was defensively actually solid, I thought. I don't know. But the midfield was playing good. We were scoring goals, but it was still pre-season. But I still like that style of football. Then we went to Liverpool, and then it just went all wrong after that. So yeah, so I agree. Like it kind of tricked us, I guess, how we saw it. So I don't know this new guy's football really, to be honest. So I don't know, but I just don't see it being anything special.
Go ahead, Prime. Tell us where you disagree.
With the preseason.
While I get a glass of water.
Well, I've been disagreeing. I told people I saw nothing from that preseason. You guys got gassed for no reason, and I was right. But yeah, what Marshall's saying, if we had implemented the last 5 games, not the whole season, I mean, maybe. But even still, the last 5 games, there was nothing special coming from it, really. The Nottingham Forest game, without a fit of Reece James, we end up drawing. Actually, without Sterling coming off the bench, we end up drawing. The Bournemouth game was just a drag anyway.
Yeah.
We battered a poor West Ham team. We battered a poor Spurs team that we always beat. I'm sorry, but I don't care. Like, if he had implemented proper tactics, he wouldn't have got sacked. I mean, yes, but like, you know, if Ten Hag had implemented proper tactics this season, Man United wouldn't have got sacked for Man United. So, like, why are we doing this if, buts, and maybes? Yes, I think he did fool the during his interview process to get this job. I think he did massively fool people. Well, then I say he fooled people. I don't think our directors did their actual due diligence last summer. Because there's no way you can see what Poch did at PSG and what he did in his final year at Tottenham Hotspur and tell me that he deserved to get the Chelsea job.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as people can say he fooled people, no, he didn't fool people. Poch has always been what he is. And you guys were just stupid enough to believe him. That's honestly what it is. So yeah, Maresca, I'm going to be positive about this. Like, I do think, is he the guy that we're going to win like titles with or Champions League with? No, but he can do what these managers, what the owners have been trying to get a manager to do, is develop a young squad to a point where we are ready to go and actually start competing and winning titles again. And I think that's what he's here for. That's what Potter was supposed to be here for. But he was dealt a bad hand in a way. That's what Potter was supposed to be here for, because that's what he did at Spurs. But, you know, Potter's in it. Third time, I guess you can say third time lucky. I believe this is not going to go poorly. I think this will go quite well. And also, Chelsea have a history of hiring Italian managers and them succeeding with us, you know. So I'm actually happy about this. I'm usually negative, and I'm happy about this. So people should just try and relax a bit.
I mean, I agree with people needing to relax, especially some of you guys in the chat that are just completely just losing your minds over disappointment. Listen, if you've not learned anything from this channel, it's the fact that we try, or at least I try my best to not be reactive and try to see as many perspectives in the situation as possible. And I kind of just hope for the best one. Really, that's kind of really it. Like you could say I'm a hopium fan or whatever the fuck, but time will tell. Because again, this is a 10-year project. It's not gonna fucking happen overnight. I always knew it was going to be a process, and I said last season that this third season is going to be the big giveaway. If after this third season it does not look promising, it does not cook, it does not look like it's going anywhere but downhill, then I'm done. But I mean, Scott or Oliver, what do you guys think about the salary we're giving him, the long-term contract? Do you think that's, ridiculous? I mean, I think it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, that's probably like the only thing I don't agree with is the length of contract. It's surprising considering what happened with Potter, but they probably have a number of like escape clauses should things go wrong. So like, it is what it is. I'm just not too fussed about the appointment as of yet. I'm going to wait until like what actually happens next season, because like we don't know. We haven't even finished this season. There are still games to go for this season. Players are yet to leave their football club, or football clubs, I should say. Managers are yet to leave their clubs as well. So I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I like some aspects of his game. It's very similar in terms of the shape to what we were doing towards the back end of the season anyway, which is nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait and see. Wait and see who we bring in as well. Because I said this before, I don't care who our manager is. I couldn't have cared whether it was Enzo, McKenna, Pep, Arteta, De Zerbi, whoever. Like I expect a top four and Conference League if we play in it next season, but regardless of who the manager is.
I mean, don't you think it's a little? God damn it! I'm gonna sound like I'm defending the recruitment team, and I'm really trying not to. I'm just trying to give a different perspective here. And now, I guess, kind of what's been happening in these recent seasons since the new ownership is that the more we go into season after season, it kind of seem I kind of seem to be putting the context together and the pieces together, and I'm starting to get more and more of an idea of what exactly the plan is and how it's going forward. And I think, and I look at the past decisions too, and why it failed and why exactly things happened the way it happened. Don't you think it's Don't you think that our recruitment team has kind of absolved the responsibility from Potter, because they never actually hired? That was a Bowley hire. That wasn't when Stanley or Lawrence Stewart hire. And so when you say like they didn't learn from the previous lesson, do you think it's a little harsh to say that maybe that wasn't really a lesson they should have learned from? That they did their research and this is the guy. They probably would have never appointed Potter to begin with.
They needed to make these mistakes, though.
But they didn't make the mistake on Potter, you know?
Yeah, but like, it's weird. Everyone, whether it be, or the vast majority of people, whether it be Chelsea fans, rivals, pundits, everyone kept saying, these American owners, they don't know what they're doing. They're Yanks, they don't know football, they haven't watched football. And yet, when they then make mistakes, you then complain that they're making mistakes. Of course, they're going to make mistakes if they don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to say I'm happy, because I won't go failing, but one thing making mistakes, it's another thing learn from your mistakes. At least they are learning. At least they are actively trying. And I've been saying this. I would rather have these owners than have the Glazers.
Yeah.
Or even to a certain extent, the Conkeys, who don't really care about winning or trying to get back. At least our owners.
I mean, to a certain extent, FSG too. You can put them in.
If they're going to make mistakes, if this Enzo signing is like he ends up being bad, that's cool. These guys will try again. They will actively keep trying, and I rate that. You're trying to get it right, and if you make mistakes along the way, then fair. Like Marshall, for example, like you do YouTube and you have a band and stuff. I'm sure, like you guys have made mistakes along the way, but
no, we've been perfect the whole time, man. We've been perfect the whole time. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, let me not slander you on your own channel. But you've made mistakes along the way, but actively trying. You do a stream, you realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't have, talking about these topics don't work, or doing this layout or plot or whatever. But like you're constantly trying to improve, and I rate that. Hopefully they get this one right. I don't want another season of failure, but if you have to suffer a little bit to eventually get your success, that's how most people in life are successful. Like it's about learning from mistakes and learning from your failure. Isn't that what Arsenal fans are happy about? That, you need to take time. It's going to take time. Look what we did with Arteta 8 or 2 years. Well, for Chelsea, maybe it's not about the managers per se, but it's about the owners and them learning and growing and understanding. I'm just not so pessimistic about the whole thing. I've never been, even though I have questioned the owners, I've never been on their neck and one of them gone. Because if we get rid of them, who else are we getting? We're not getting another Roman again. We're not getting a Sheikh. The English government will not allow Chelsea to have to be run by all money again. So who will we get? Another Glazers or Kroenke or an FSG? And then you guys will start crying and complaining again. So ultimately, let them do what they actually believe is best for Chelsea to come to be one of the best teams in the world again. I don't mind. I'm okay.
Oh, you're a lot more optimistic than I am, Prime. But I mean, I get it and I rate it. But I go back to the question that Scott or Oliver, whoever wants to answer it. Do you guys think that it is a little unfair to place the, onus of you should have learned from your previous mistakes with Potter on the current recruitment team when they weren't necessarily the ones that made that recruitment of Potter? It was Bowley.
It's mostly unfair. I can criticize the directors for one thing with Potter, and it's, they didn't hire him. The only thing I can criticize them with is that they were part of the reason that the plug wasn't pulled earlier. Potter was sacked 2 months too late at the point that he was. He should have been sacked in February. He got sacked in April, and the sporting directors had a part in that. To some extent, I don't know the details, but they were certainly a part of that process. Because by the end of it, we were hearing that Win Stanley's his vote of no confidence was really the nail in the coffin. So the fact that that didn't come earlier must mean that he was fine with it up to a certain point.
Real quick before Prime goes, I do want to say this though. I think if we had sacked Potter earlier, 2 months earlier, so I'm assuming you mean end of December, right, Oliver?
No, I mean sort of mid-February-ish time.
Mid-February, right? We wouldn't have been able to get Potter or Poch. I know that for a fact. Poch was not available until the end of next season because he still had ties with PSG. I remember that was a reason why he couldn't come into training yet because his contract with PSG didn't allow him. So that option was off the table. I mean, what else? Now that we're in hindsight, we can understand this, right? Now in hindsight, what if we had sacked him 2 months earlier? What was the solution, really?
Get anyone but Lampard.
I don't know who was available.
Do the interim thing still. You can, but don't Lampard was the most obvious failure of an option that you could have possibly gone with, and they went with it. Although, to be fair, that was reportedly more of an Egbali initiative.
Yeah.
I don't now looking at things in hindsight. Why do you have Staffy as okay? That threw me off.
You like Staffy?
Jesus, what am I saying? Yeah. Now we're looking at all things in hindsight. I kind of understand why they gave Potter as much time as possible. The February, you said, we're talking about February. Was that not when we were playing in the Champions League against Dortmund?
We'd already lost the first leg, and then we lost to Southampton and Spurs.
Yeah, but I think they would have sacked him after the second leg. However, we turned it around and we beat them and we went through, and then we went on a little patch of form. I think like what Poch this season. I think with Potter, they gave him more than enough time to try and turn things around and to try and end the season on a positive note. But ultimately, we had already lost grip on finishing within a European spot. Things were already so much of a failure that ultimately he just had to go. Same thing with Potter this season. They, instead of sacking him and after the cup final, for example, they gave him ample time to eventually turn the season around, which he did, quote unquote, and we were able to finish, sixth?
Yep.
So I think people talking about how they won't give Enzo time, they will. These owners will look at the directors, whoever's in charge. They'll look at the context of things. They're not just going to say on paper, "Oh, you finished here, you're gone." They're going to look at context, because that was the only reason why Poch is gone in the first place, because they looked at the context. They weren't reactionary based off the 5 games.
No, that's quite clear. They'll give him time. The only hasty decision they made was Tuchel, and they didn't even hire him in the first place.
Exactly. But you know what, Oliver? They're learning from their mistakes. The owners or Bowley, whoever who sacked Tuchel, they would have kept him if Tuchel was willing to play ball. So that's Tuchel's fault. That's all I'm saying. If Tuchel was just willing to play ball up until, like, say, the World Cup or something, or until the season ended, but he wasn't. Tuchel wasn't answering their calls. I wasn't willing to collaborate. He got sacked. It's his fault.
I mean, yeah, Tuchel was definitely going through a lot of issues behind the scenes and with the board, so that's why. But they should have sacked him before the season started. Then
I agree. They should have sacked him before the season started.
Or end of the season, because I don't think that. I think they rushed into Potter without really thinking about it. There's no other managers out there, so that's why it went to that mess. And I do agree where you say they are like trying to learn from their mistakes. They are like slowly improving, because we was the first season with them, we was what 12th, 10th between. I don't remember, like somewhere middle nowhere.
No.
Now we're 6th.
I'm not looking at league position. I'm talking about the things that they were doing when they first came and what they're doing now. You can clearly see they're learning. Forget league position. Think about what's happening behind the scenes. They're learning.
Well, yes. Well, I feel like that's the help where we are on the table as well. They're learning what players are signing. The managers are, well, not the managers, because the managers are still the same circle. But I think with the Enzo Maresca, whatever his name is, I think even if he finishes top 6, and that maybe will be good enough for Europa League next season, they're keeping. I think they're going to give this manager time with the 5-year contract. That shows me they're going to give him time. With Poch, that doesn't show me they're going to give him time, because they only gave him 2-year contract. So yeah, it's gonna be a bumpy road with Enzo, but I'm just gonna accept it for what it is now. I don't know. I don't actually expect to win big things for like another couple, 2-3 years at least. Anyway, I don't expect that. It's one of them situations, I think. But yeah, is anyone else? No one's here. Marshall's gone. It's I think it's depressing talking about this whole manager, but I'm not a fan of it. Just not a fan of it.
We shouldn't have fired Poch, man. We shouldn't have fired Poch. You know, he had a good 5-game winning streak. We finally built momentum, and then we fired Poch. I don't know, guys. I don't know. And then we don't get an experienced manager, right? That's winning, right? We could have got Allegri. Oh shit, he hasn't won for 6 years now. When he was reinstated, we could have got Tuchel. Dang,
No.
He just came 3rd in the league that won 11 Bundesligas in a row and got destroyed by a Stuttgart manager as well. Who else? We could have got Pioli. Oh shit, AC Milan fired him because he wasn't good enough. Xavi got fired because he didn't win the league. Who else? Who else can we get, guys? Who's experienced? Who's one thing? Jose. Oh shit, De Rossi did a better job when coming in. Anyone else we can think of that's good?
Rossi has not done a better job.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
He hasn't.
They're about the same. I would say about the same with the injuries they have. I would be honest.
Jose's actually done stuff at Roma. He hasn't done shit yet.
Yes, so because he came in halfway through the season.
Yeah.
He came in halfway through the season when Jose got them out of all cups. Yes.
Jose didn't take them out of all cups, by the way.
Sorry?
Jose did not take them out of all competitions, by the way.
Okay, so which one did he not take them out of? I think the Europa League. The Europa League.
They were still in the Europa League, and they were still within a chance of top 4. They were like 4 points, I think, away from top 4.
Yeah, I know. And they were in the top 4 for a while until Bologna came in. But anyways, like, the whole point of this thing is there's no experienced manager that's good right now, quote unquote. Unless we're getting Carlo Ancelotti, who again came in with the quote today or yesterday that he wants to retire with Madrid and winning another Champions League. That's what he said.
There's Simeone,
we're not getting,
but apparently he's a terrorist.
But I'm sorry. Yeah, and plus he's gonna be an athletic manager until he dies.
But that's where I ask you, Chris, like, I understand that you want experience, and I get it. Like, most of us want to see some type of history to back our decision, to see like, okay, he's done it. Maybe he can do it for Chelsea and it'll translate. But you tell me, Chris, how many managers have you seen actually been successful this season that are experienced versus how many managers that have been inexperienced that have been more successful? Tell me which one, you know.
Would you class Xavi Hernandez experienced or still inexperienced? Because he's
Inexperienced because he was manager in the Qatari league before he took the Barca job.
Yeah. So you call him, that's what I mean. But I still think Xavi Hernandez would be better for us. I still think De Zerbi would be better for us and Maresca. But I'm not saying there's a big difference between him and Maresca.
But no, let's not
because
talk
no,
about
De Zerbi. I'm sorry,
I'm
De
asking you,
Zerbi.
Chris.
Okay, if you're talking about one experience,
no one's telling me that they were like, I want De Zerbi when he was in Shakhtar Donetsk. I'm sorry. Now we're saying this now.
I agree.
After one season, but no one. This was only a year ago, guys. That he was managed from Shakhtar
real
Donetsk.
Experience, I would say Tuchel or Sarri. But I don't think Tuchel wants to come to us, so there's no point being that because he said apparently he doesn't want to come back to Chelsea, so there's no point. But I would have looked at Sarri because we don't know with Sarri. We didn't even try approach. Maybe we did approach and we just don't know about it. But I would have gone for Sarri, see if he said yes or no. If he said no, then we move on.
But again, though, I asked you specifically what managers this season that are experienced. Okay, at least let me make it more simple.
Because Lazio didn't do well with Sarri.
Hold on.
Wait.
Tell me what managers this season that are experienced that are doing well, and then, or tell me how many, right? And you can name them if you want, and then tell me how many managers that are inexperienced this season that are doing well. Take your time.
Wait, just any manager?
Any manager
well,
in the world right now.
And Ancelotti did well, I think.
In Europe, in top 5 of Europe.
Champions League final, they won the league, so they done
okay.
Well.
You don't have to go into the accolades. I believe
okay, yeah, sorry. I think who else is there? Xavi Alonso's not experienced.
So he's inexperienced.
Pep Guardiola. I think Klopp's done well considering I don't rate Liverpool's team. They barely
Inzaghi.
Klopp. Inzaghi, yeah.
Would you consider Inzaghi experienced?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 managers.
Let me think. Other Premier League or who's? No, I'm not gonna say him. I was gonna say the PSG manager, but he's failed. He lost to Dortmund. That's a failure. Is there anyone else? I'm trying to think of a talent now.
And if Araujo didn't get a red card, Barca would have destroyed PSG anyways with that second leg. Let's be honest. So he wasn't even going to get past Barca, Xavi Hernandez.
You wouldn't class Arteta as experience, would you? Even though he's had a job for 4 years.
No. I guess you could also say I can't remember his name. My
bad.
Oh
no! Wait. Emery. He's experienced. There's another one.
So okay, that's 5 managers.
Yeah. I said I'm just going to struggle with this. There's 5 or so.
I throw in the Atalanta manager as well. I can't remember his name.
Chris, you said Emery.
Yeah, he's done what?
Take away this.
You mean Gasperini?
Yeah,
Gasperini. Yeah.
Chris, take away this Villa stint. Would you have taken Emery at Chelsea?
I actually did like him. Oh wait, you mean at Arsenal? Shit. It didn't look good at Arsenal. But I rated him at Villarreal. I did actually rate him at Villarreal before Arsenal.
You didn't answer the question, Chris. Stop waffling.
What? I said no. Like at Arsenal, after not including the severe stint. No, I wouldn't have because he looked quite bad at Arsenal. I did.
Okay, so there's none of these top managers you would have done.
So okay, let me continue. Dissecting Chris's brain here. Okay, so we said for inexperienced managers, Arteta, Xavi Alonso. Can you name me more inexperienced managers that have succeeded or have done really well this season?
Inexperienced. Xavi Alonso, he's been unreal.
We already have that. We already have Arteta, so you don't have to say those.
Oh, wait, how many you mentioned them?
I'm holding my fingers up if you're not watching the stream. I'm counting it live.
Michel from Girona, because they were literally relegated to Bottom League 2.
I actually think McKenna's been quite successful with Ipswich, by the way. I think that's quite successful.
Okay, so 4.
We're counting Ipswich, but then we're not counting Enzo's success.
No. He did way better than Enzo this season, by the way.
Okay, listen, I get where he's coming from, and I want Chris to land his point. I understand what he's saying because he's competing with a championship side, or not even a championship, EPL2, right? PL2, right?
He was in League One, and then he got
promoted a League One side to championship. I don't know if he got backing or not, but he still did really well with a PL1 side in championship to get second place. So that is a very big accomplishment.
Okay, stop helping Chris, man. Let him die.
While Maresca did have a Premier League team,
it.
not necessarily completely Premier League team, but they were just demoted. They did keep some of their players, not entirely all of them, but they're Premier League players. So I understand where Chris is coming from. It is actually impressive. But go on, Chris. And you named 4 so far. Continue whatever you can think of off the top of your head.
Has done all right for Barcelona. He's
Okay, 5.
You could say Motto for Bologna, Chris, because he's getting the Juve job now.
Well, I don't know really much about
Yeah, I'd agree.
I take your word for that one.
Curry, stop helping Chris, man. Let him die.
No, I already said. I'm not gonna say.
He needs the help. He needs the help because he doesn't know.
No. Wait. No, I think that's
you don't know, Chris. But continue on, Chris.
Why would I know about some random like?
Marshall, that's my point.
I know. But again, no. I understand your point. I will come to your point, Prime. Chris, continue naming some. Continue naming some.
I think that's it. I think about 5.
Sebastian Hoynes.
7.
It doesn't matter to me.
But Sebastian Hoynes with Stuttgart got 3rd place in the Bundesliga.
Second. Went over to
Bayern. Okay, can you name any more, Chris?
I'm gonna say no.
Can anyone name any more?
There's company at what he did, not the season before at Burnley.
Well,
when
I don't know about. I'm talking about this season.
Oh, you're talking about just this season. Okay,
yeah, just this season.
We're talking about just this season. There's Gary O'Neill at Wolves.
I forgot about Amman. Fuck.
Or are you just talking about managers that have like won this season?
That have done really well this season in terms of like they've won. They've won. They've shown really impressive. They're gonna have a move up. Like, I'll put Ange Postecoglou in there. Like, no one really rated his experience at Rangers, or was it Rangers, Celtics, or in Japan. No one rated it. No one wanted to count it. And now look at what he's done at Tottenham Hotspur.
He is very. I'm not. Nah, he's experienced.
He's very experienced. He's been managing.
He's very experienced.
All right, fine. I'll take it off.
But anyway, Chris, what's your point in all this?
This is my point. This is my point. My point is, Chris, you named 5 managers that are experienced, right? 5 managers that were experienced. That 2 of them are unrealistic. Pep and Don Carlo. You could have maybe. Who else did you name? Inzaghi. Maybe Inzaghi, right? Tuchel was in that conversation. That's another maybe. Like, I wanted to, that. Pep, Carlo, Tuchel. Sorry, didn't do anything this season.
Yeah, because he wasn't in the job.
But he didn't do anything.
I still take him, by the way.
I named you something. I'm not asking you who you would take. I named you successful managers this season. You said Inzaghi, and then there was a 5th one that I can't remember. Gasparini. I gave you those. Okay.
Yeah.
And then together, guys, we named 7 managers with inexperience that have done more impressive things or equally as impressive things than those 5 managers. So there's more managers with inexperience doing more things in football right now than managers with experience. And like I said, Chris, 2 of those managers without experience are not realistic. Don Carlo and Pep Guardiola. That leaves you with 3 managers that could potentially come to Chelsea versus the 7 that could have actually come to Chelsea. Do you understand now why we went the direction that we went to?
Wait, hang on, but you say this season, yeah, I agree. Okay, Sarri didn't do nothing this season because he hasn't had a job, but it doesn't mean he's not good.
What is Sarri doing last season?
He had a job. He had a job.
Yeah, but he got let go early this season.
No, he resigned.
Not that early. He resigned more than
halfway
through.
Okay.
He didn't resign early on in the season. He resigned
He
more than
resigned
halfway.
after they were lower. They were in the bottom half.
Chris, do you see my point? Do you see my point now?
Yeah,
I see, but I see.
They're
your
literally
point.
below Roma de Rossi side.
When you're showing math like that, of course I see your point, but it's still not I'm still taking people like Sarri, Tuchel, all these other managers over.
Okay, hold on, Chris.
I don't get the point.
Okay, so let me just land this in Prime. I would let you go. What I'm trying to show you is that there's a trend. There are 7 managers out there that we named that are doing something in football that's impressing the world, and they're succeeding, and they're competing and they're doing successful things. Whereas the three options that are realistic towards Chelsea, that's it. Those are the only three options. So the model of going for experience isn't nearly as successful as the model for going with someone who has a system. All those 7 managers that we just named, they have a system. They're going somewhere with their football. That's why they're competing. That's why they're beating the Bayerns. That's why they're beating the Juves and the AC Milans and so on and so forth. That's why they're showing something in the Premier League with Tottenham and Arsenal. That's why I'm showing you that. We're not going to get Pep Guardiola. We're not going to get Don Carlo.
Of course not.
But
I agree with
what I'm trying to tell you is that there is a trend. So why it doesn't make sense to me for you to want to go towards a dying trend versus one that's actually going in the right direction.
Also, to add to that, Marshall,
Sorry,
the Girona manager finished higher than Simeone. Girona finished 3rd.
Yeah.
Atletico finished 4th.
Yeah,
It's not even just that, Chris. All of these like quote unquote elite managers, the vast majority of them are finished. They're washed right now. Conte's washed, Jose's washed. Like I rate Simeone, but like he's not gonna leave Atletico Madrid regardless. Ancelotti's basically retired at Real Madrid. Pep, even if when he leaves, he's not coming Chelsea.
Of course.
Klopp, this might be agree to disagree. I don't really think Klopp's really elite, but regardless, he's not going to come Chelsea. And Allegri's been washed for a couple of years now. So who's left? There's no one. So, like Gasperini and Sarri, they're not elite managers. You can say they're B tier, and they don't suit the remit of what the owners want in terms of a style of play. I don't want the owners to make another bad appointment just because it's a name. Because Pochettino was a name, and they got that wrong. So I don't want them to go for like a Jose, bring him back, or go for a Tuchel. Those would be the easy options to make, or go for an Allegri. That's an easy choice. They didn't do that. They did their due diligence, and they're getting a manager that suits the remit of what they want this time.
Also, Chris,
it may not be big, but it actually will work. I'm happy with Enzo Maresca because it actually fits with what they're trying to do.
And also, Chris, you have to take into consideration this, right? You remember how much of an issue it was for Chelsea towards the end of Roman era to constantly sack a manager and rehire a new one. Do you remember what one of the biggest issues was doing that model?
Well, like different managers, different systems, and different players, all that type of shit. Yes.
There you go. Different players. Do you understand that? So, like,
can I say something to that?
Real quick, let me just land and then obviously you can say something, but like different players. So these managers, the Enriques, the Nagelsmanns, Mauricio Pochettino, we saw wanted to keep, according to rumors, he wanted to keep freaking Gallagher and sell Enzo. So what happens if Poch or any of these managers who, you know, maybe have a little bit of manager bump, get their players, and then they leave, which has always happened at Chelsea. That is the history of Chelsea. We've never had a manager of high pedigree stay for a long enough time. What happens if one of these managers of high pedigree doesn't like the players, scraps the project, gets his own players, and then leaves?
It's obviously a mess. But
exactly. So you see what we're trying to avoid now.
I'm not saying I disagree with you guys or any of this type of stuff, but it feels like we're still doing the same circle, by the way, sacking manager and changing team and sacking manager. Chris, I don't want us to keep sacking managers. I actually don't want us to do that.
That's because you cannot look beyond paper. On paper, it looks like we're doing the same thing. But if you actually look at the context, we're not.
What's the
context?
We have a group of talented players. We need instead of getting the elite guy, we now need a coach to help develop. You know, when we had this last, 2013 or 2014, when we brought Jose back, and we had these talented young players, Oscar, Mata, Hazard was Mata was a little bit older, but Oscar, Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, etc. All these talented young players, Lukaku. And what did we do? We brought back Jose. We sold Mata. We sold Kevin De Bruyne. And those two players, well, Mata didn't do well at Man United because Man United are a mess. But Kevin De Bruyne went to Wolfsburg, came back to Man City, and he's been one of the best players in the Prem the last decade. Mohamed Salah, same thing, been one of the best players in the Prem the last decade. These are talented young players that we let go of because of this elite manager instead of actually developing them properly. Why would we go down that path again?
That's kind of the point, Chris, right? And, you know...
No, Marshall,
again,
I want Chris to answer that, though. Sorry.
What?
Go ahead.
Did you not hear what
like,
I said?
I do agree, like, what you said about the players. Like, yeah, I do like a lot of our players. I like Enzo, I like Caicedo, I like Gusto, I like Reece James, I like Cole Palmer. I'm not a big fan of Mudryk that much. Jackson's okay, I actually don't mind Jackson. Our left back situation is a bit iffy, obviously. You know, there is still, like, obviously things like that. And I don't know, but the thing is I don't know if Enzo Maresca is the right man to do that with this squad either, but that's just...
None of us know.
I know, yeah. Like,
None of us know. And here's the thing, Chris, just to put into context, because you said this before, right? About, and before I actually continue on this point, Soliman, big up to you, my friend. Big up for the 5 gifted memberships. If you did get the membership, enjoy it, please, with emojis. Thank A Soliman if you're in chat, please. That's going to be JC, DHL, Ishi, Coco624, and Adam CFC. Enjoy your memberships gifted by A Soliman. Thank you so much, man. Always a big contributor of the channel. I appreciate you, my friend. But back to what I was saying with Chris, right? You mentioned about the sacking and changing of managers. It seems like the same. People like to iterate that in this time under the Bowley era, we've sacked 5 managers, which factually, yes, it is true. We've sacked and chopped and changed 5 managers. But here's the thing. There's a lot of context to it. Yeah, it is. Tuchel, Potter, Bruno. People want to count Bruno because they're shameless. Pochettino, Frank Lampard, and Pochettino. But technically, on a technical point, yes, he was a manager that we had for a game and then he left. Which, again, people want to be disingenuous, which is why I'm bringing this up, Prime. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there's context to it, right? There's an actual, there's a reason why it happened the way it happened. Tuchel was the manager. He didn't get along with the owners for whatever reason, and it seemed like the owners wanted to start fresh with their choices. The owner was Bowley at the time. He was a sporting director, so he sacked Tuchel and hired Potter because he was sold this idea that Potter was the guy. Now, maybe Potter was the guy with a different team, but not with the team that we had then. So what happened is we got a recruitment team, Vivell, and so on and so forth. And these guys came in and said, no, Potter is not the guy. You need to sack him. So then they decided, let's get rid of Potter. There's no actual manager out there. So for now, let's get an interim. Bruno came in for 1 game. Okay, he didn't get sacked. He just didn't even want the job. He just took it over until we found an interim. And Lampard was the interim. He didn't get sacked either. So Lampard came in as an interim until the recruitment team actually appointed their first choice or their first appointment. Their first appointment was Mauricio Pochettino, which maybe give or take, they were sold a dream on Mauricio Pochettino. Maybe if he had actually done what he told them and did what in the preseason, maybe they would have been right. We don't know. Those are all hypotheticals, right? So then they decide at the end of the season, Mauricio Pochettino is not going to be the guy. And this season, they appoint their second appointment. So in reality, this recruitment team is doing their second appointment. So that's why, Chris, when you say chopping and changing, it hasn't really been chopping and changing. These guys only made their first appointment, which is a short-term appointment, by the way. It was only 2 years, but he didn't even last his second year. And then they sacked him, and now they're giving this guy the long-term appointment. Now do you see why it's disingenuous to say there's a lot of chopping and changing? There wasn't really a lot of chopping and changing when you think about it.
I just said also, Chris, would you rather say they had kept Potter and we did worse this last season and they still were not willing to sack Potter? You would be one of the Chelsea fans complaining about why aren't these guys willing to change? Chelsea are used to sacking managers when it fails. Why aren't they sacking Potter? He's still here and he's failed. We're worse. People are going to complain regardless.
I do agree people do complain regardless because we're not winning, obviously. And yes, I would want him to sack Potter from last season because he had no right from where he finished 10th and how poorly we played in our attack and our build-up was so horrendously poor. So I understand that sacking. With Pochettino, I still kind of understand that sacking, but it's about like finding the right manager for the team, and they've been failing to do that as well. So it's just getting annoying to watch because they are spending a lot of
they've
money
been
on
failing to do that though. That's what I mean. Like they
been
only
failing to
appointed
vote-
one.
Oh, okay. You mean this whole recruitment
The
team?
recruitment team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They failed. No, okay.
You could
yeah,
say Blueco as a
they-
company has been
I
failing,
mean-
sure, but
Yeah, okay. They haven't maybe done as bad as like the whole thing because it's been a mess since the start. Like we hired Potter from Tuchel, mess. We hired Poch, kind of mess, and now this manager. Where if it becomes a mess, it's gonna be ugly for next season. I think it's just gonna be very ugly and toxic and
of course,
depressing.
deservedly
I can see it.
so.
I can see it because the first season was very depressing where we was just mid-table. This one's been mainly depressing, but we got top 6, so it's kind of look forward to some sort of Conference League football. So we got that at least. But like, I can see it being very ugly and nasty, and I think it's gonna be I know draining on a lot of people's mental health watching it
I'm
and
sure.
talking about it because I just can see it. It's gonna be horrible, but I do kind of want them to back a manager. Say if Maresca, has good football and stuff, and we finish top 6, and that gets maybe Europa League or something. They should keep him. They should keep him for another season and see how it goes because there isn't a whole lot of managers out there. I do agree. There isn't a whole lot of managers.
We just went through it. Yeah.
De Zerbi isn't that great himself, but I would have picked De Zerbi over this manager, but he isn't that great himself. It's just another inexperience versus inexperience.
They
So
want
who knows?
Zerbi over him, but he's gone to Man United. So
Well, I mean, I don't know how far we pushed with De Zerbi, by the way, but like I would have preferred him if he prefers Man United. Then he prefers Man United. I don't know, but like I'd even choose McKenna over Magresta, whatever his name is. But maybe Magresta is I don't know, more suited to our system.
Maresca. Just call him Enzo, Chris.
Enzo, yeah,
Christopher, Chris.
or Baldy. I don't know. I can come on. Yeah.
What do you know about McKenna?
No, I think he did a lot better with a way weaker team compared to what team he had.
Chris.
Football style, I don't know.
Chris.
I'm not going to their football style.
Chris, what
Oh,
do you
did
know
not you?
about McKenna?
What I know about him, how he got promoted from League One to this team, I just know how well he's done with a weak team. I think
What
that's
do
very
you know
impressive
about
compared to
McKenna?
He just answered you. He said that he got promoted. That's about all he knows.
You know nothing about both managers. But
with the weaker team. That's all I know. Pardon?
What does that mean?
My bad. What's that mean? I said like he did a lot better of a weaker team compared to Enzo with a Leicester team, was a Premier League team, and he's 1
Who won
point
the
away from it.
championship?
So I think he did a better job last season than him.
Who won
as
the
a manager.
championship?
A team with a Premier League team did, yeah.
Who won the championship?
Enzo, a way better team.
Oh, Leicester won the championship. Okay,
He's scraped at 1 point, by the way.
but he's better though.
Yeah,
Marshall, can we get into the context of that?
I don't think.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's actually Let's actually wait. Let's wind it back a little bit. Let's actually get into more. Wait. We will discuss it. There will be time to discuss it.
I know. I just want to say this. This is why I say, like Chris, with all due respect, you're not really. You're saying you want McKenna, who you haven't watched, because of something he's been doing over the past. Hold on, because of what he's been doing the past 2 years, which you know nothing about, because he has a weaker squad. Yet you haven't watched McKenna or Desert or Maresca.
Wait. Do you guys watch Championship then? Just wondering.
You haven't watched.
We don't. But
But I'm not. I'm admitting to it. By the way, but it's like
this is
you
the
guys.
thing. The thing is, here's the thing, though, Chris. Like, you admit that, like us, you have not watched Championship.
No.
Yet you seem to have a very strong opinion that this guy's not the guy. While all of us here don't really have an opinion. We're just gonna back the manager, and based on what we've seen in the research we've done, see like, okay, I can see why they're going with this guy. Let's hope it plays out. But
And
hold on.
also-
By the way, I don't want to.
Real quick, Curry, I'll start with you next, but let me continue on with this segment because I do have a few other topics I want to bring up in regards to McKenna. And this is, I guess, something to calm down Chris a little bit. But let's talk about it. So there's some quotes and reassurances on McKenna, and there's a little bit of some details that go over, not McKenna, I'm sorry, Maresca, that go over a little bit of his football, his style, his personality, and so on and so forth. So Willie Caballero, an assistant manager coach, Danny Walker, goalkeeping coach, Michel de Bernardin, fitness coach, Marcos Alvarez, and first team analyst, Javier Molina Caballero, are all expected to join Maresca at Stamford Bridge. So we will see the return of Willie Caballero as a team of the coaching team, coaching staff, I should say. Let me go back because I skipped one by accident. Nazar Kinsella here quoting or saying something on Maresca. Maresca is quite happy. It seems to be a head coach fitting into their first team structure. Chelsea feel like they have built a modern elite environment or are building that, and it did need modernizing after the Roman era. And they feel like they are getting there now. They just need someone to slot in and do the job of coaching rather than getting involved in transfers. Fair enough. Leicester Mercury correspondent Jordan Blackwell. The Leicester players have spoken about feeling a bit stupid when he came in. He was teaching things they've never considered or thought about. Totally different ways of thinking about the game. Harry Winks said he's the best manager he's ever worked for, and he's played under Mauricio Pochettino, Antonio Conte, and Jose Mourinho. And listen, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully you're not confusing and the players actually understand the concept that you're trying to introduce to them. But let's continue. Enzo Maresca has completely bought into the strategic vision of Stewart and Winstanley. Begdad Bali trusted them to find the next coach. We continue on. Maresca, the most important is positional playing strategy for a coach. It's important to have a mentality of a chess player. Develop a plan, study counter moves, choose the arrangement of pieces. And this is coming from his coach's voice video. I guess they had like a little masterclass thing there. And we continue. Enzo Maresca's knowledge of Chelsea's squad was described as encyclopedic. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I think I did it right. Encyclopedic. Thank you. And to give a little bit more details on that, inside details, Maresca, so his representatives was saying, I know all the players. These are their strengths and weaknesses. This is what we need to do in the future. He had knowledge on even the young players out on loan. So this guy came and did his homework, unlike, you know what, this is true. Poch, who is Malang Sarr? I bet you Maresca actually knows who Malang Sarr is. So there's that. But okay, so Maresca impressed with his knowledge on the players and all this and that. So that is impressive. It gives you a little bit of more promise. And then Ben Jacobs, a quick thread on Enzo Maresca from the observations watching Leicester this season. Preferred formation 4-3-3, but it's more of a 3-2-4-1 or 3-2-5 in possession. Utilizes inverted fullbacks and encourages number 8s to attack. Patient and possession-based build-up, Leicester had a 61.61% average last season. Only Southampton, 65%, had more of the ball. Chris, this is to ease you, okay? But let's continue on. At Leicester, we've seen deep build-up with Mads Hermansson encouraged to join the backline. Leicester midfield's given... Okay, gotcha. Leicester midfielders given defined and somewhat new roles. Harry Winks strived controlling the midfield with short, quick passes. Wilfred Ndidi was asked to get box-to-box. Kieran Dewsbury Hall given creative freedom, resulting in an outstanding season with 12 goals and 15 assists in all competitions. Steffi Madidi, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and Abdul Fatu were two outstanding signings, both excellent dribblers who make positive and intelligent runs off the ball. They helped give Leicester flair and balance. Out of possession, Maresca tends to line up in a 4-5-1 or a 4-1-4-1, puts heavy emphasis on stopping counterattacks. Didn't always work. Plymouth lost one example. Overall, Leicester conceded a championship low 41 goals less last season. So was he the team that conceded the least amount of goals last season? Am I reading that correctly?
Of all teams.
Yes, and
yeah.
the championship, yes.
Premier League team, so it doesn't count.
Okay. Fair enough. But no, it's a stat, and we're going to read it. So, as a coach, Maresca has a clear identity and is straight and forthright, even with what he expects from players. Wasn't satisfied, for example, when Leicester scored 2 counterattack goals to beat Birmingham. Said after the game, 90% of our goals won't be counterattacks. Maresca has an open door policy, and his philosophy should get the best out of fullbacks. Marco Cucurella, who thrive in late season inverted role under Mauricio Pochettino, is the type of player perfect for Maresca's system. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez will likely be encouraged to move the ball a bit quicker. Maresca likes energy in the middle of the park and box-to-box midfield, which moving the ball quicker was exactly what Moises Caicedo did under De Zerbi when he was playing last season. Then, most interesting aspect of all, in my view, is how he'll utilize the front lines. It's not unthinkable that Nicholas Jackson will be deployed as a wide forward if Chelsea signed a new central traditional striker. Chelsea like Maresca's fit with their model and have been impressed by his squad knowledge. Both sporting directors Lawrence Stewart and Bo Stanley viewed him as a standout candidate, and the fact he's learned off Pep, obviously another bonus. And god damn it, why is my tab button doing that? And then one last thing for Chris. Takeaways from our talk with LCFC fans, so Leicester City fans. Nearly bottled the championship, which Chris likes to say, right? Was down to missed chances from players, not necessarily his system. Plays with an inverted right back. Change of style was noticeable from the first game of the preseason. Wingers go wide, eights encouraged to get in the box, high pressing at the right moment. The striker has to be good at pressing. Most goals conceded via transition. Leicester had slow center backs. Chelsea need fast center backs. So that might be something that we might need to go into the market for, or maybe we keep Chalobah, so on and so forth. Most important position is either his number 6 or his goalkeeper, who must be elite on the ball. We have Lavia. Caicedo can do a role there, so on and so forth. Rotated loads at the start, but then got more stubborn. Stuck with Daka up front. They're even during a bad patch, bad patch. Confidence was low. Good man management, which I'm sure some people iterated. Leicester fans got annoyed with slow and patient football, with shouts of "get it forward." Maresca was different type of manager to Rodgers, etc. Chelsea fans inside the ground need to be patient. I guess we'll start off with Curry, because Curry, I'm sure you want to add to this. And what have you heard that you find encouraging, and maybe some things that you've heard that you find discouraging?
So the funny thing is, this manager is a combination of kind of managers you want, right, Chris? In the sense of, sorry, 1 second for the background noise.
Yeah,
you're right.
He's on about like the start of play.
So the missed chances are very similar to Brighton De Zerbi when they had Danny Welbeck, and we're like, they could have done so much better with this style of play if they had a better striker. And then the slow, methodical build-up is very similar to when we had Maurizio Sarri, when everyone in our club was like, oh my God, this is such slow build-up. And these are 2 managers that Chris has mentioned, which sounds like a combination of what he does. And the other thing is, we're saying he has a Premier League squad. Well, 2 years ago, Watford went down and Norwich went down. Have they come back up again? Burnley did come up, and now they're going back down again.
Yeah.
So it's not like every Premier League, every squad that gets relegated always goes back up. Last year, only 1 team out of the 3 came up. This year, it's going to be 2 because Southampton's made it through the playoffs. So that's the thing. I feel like that's a little bit of a fallacy saying it's a Premier League squad, because then why isn't Norwich up? Why aren't so many teams that have gotten relegated coming back up and staying up, or, yo-yoing like Burnley does? That's kind of the fallacy I find in that. The one question, so the 6th position, I feel like where Harry Winks is very much where Enzo Fernandez would be for me, and where Ndidi would be where Caicedo is. The only problem I have is, he also likes a striker who drops in and connects plays with Jackson, and why we might be going for a signing that you might mention during the stream, Jeremy Sesko.
I won't be talking about signings today. It'll be Sunday.
Okay, that's fine. But we're linked with Jeremy Sesko, and it's becoming more prevalent. And I've heard he's good at link and play as well. The only question I have is Nkunku, because he does like his wingers to take on people. So Madueke will love it, right? Sterling also, he likes a person who cuts back. So there's be a lot of cutback options on the left side, which would be perfect for Sterling, because that's where Sterling was at his best for Man City, right? So that's where it plays into strength. But because he likes his wingers, you know, like being quick, taking on their man, where does Nkunku come in, right? Either you take out Jackson and put in Nkunku in that role, because we have to fit in Cole Palmer too, and people are saying Cole Palmer would be where Drewberry Hall position is. So that's the only thing I'm finding. The other thing is that fits well with us is that we do with Poch have a 3 at the back. He likes doing his right backs tucking into the midfield. You know, so we have Reece James there, but we would ideally like Cucurella there because we have seen Cucurella do really well there. So these are kind of the good things. It's just for me, where does Nkunku play? That's more so how is he going to fit him, and is more so my thing. Because based on transfers too, just in general, Fabrizio Romano said we're going to be linked with the goalkeeper, 2 center backs, one of them being Tosins, who he is familiar with because he was with their youth squad. Tosins was under Maresca for a couple of months. So that's another player from the Man City Academy that he's familiar with that we're getting on a free. So we're linked with 2 center backs. So one more, I don't know what that might be. And we're linked with apparently another winger, which reports to there saying Summerville, which makes sense because he likes taking on his man on the left side. So, you know, it's just where does Nkunku fit in for me in this grand scheme is more so my thing. Everyone else makes sense to me position-wise and their strengths and weaknesses. That's more so it for me.
I was going to say,
Chris,
what you going to say, Curry, like you said, left back is for Cucurella obviously tucking in. But say if Maatsen doesn't actually go as well, because we don't know if Maatsen's going, because I don't know if Dortmund can afford him, and we all said this before. So if Maatsen comes back, I think he would like Maatsen, by the way, overlapping, and Reece James tucking into the midfield is not the worst idea as well. But I don't mind that either. And like obviously Jackson would suit the manager if he likes them dropping in deep and doing that type of stuff, because Jackson actually does that really well, I think, the link up and stuff. So and sorry, just to clear it all up, I'm not saying McKenna's might be better in the Premier League over Maresca, but I just over Enzo, sorry.
Maresca.
Maresca. Well, I get used to it, you know, next season. But I wouldn't want either. I think De Zerbi would suit our players as well, by the way. But I guess it doesn't matter. We've already got this manager, so I guess it sounds like I'm bitching too much. But
you are.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this. At least hearing what I read and the data coming from a bunch of people, does that at least put you a little bit at ease that maybe this manager might actually be a good appointment?
I mean, it does kind of sound like he suits our players. And I remember Will said on the stream as well, he does actually suit our style more over McKenna. And Will does actually watch the championship, so I guess he would know what he's talking about, like these championship managers. It's just, I guess it does. But I'm still not go be over that side of the hedge and think, yes, he's going to be the man for us next season, that type of stuff. So I just want to see him do the work in Chelsea next season and see what he does. But
can you go back to that previous comment, please? Sorry.
Sorry, chat. I'm trying to catch up.
Leicester moving the ball slow. Slow on the fans criticize. Yeah, but Leicester moving the ball slow with the likes of Ndidi and Chowdhury and Vice. With all due respect, you know, it's going to be a lot different with Enzo and Caicedo and Lavia, etc. So, also, there's a question in the chat for me, Marshall.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, someone asked, CFC for life asked, how come you've got faith in this manager at 12:48? Well, you're in America. Yeah. I never said I've got faith. I'm not a religious man. But, the owners and the directors, whatever, they're all doing their due diligence. They found the right guy, or they found the guy they believe to be the right guy. I just want to see how it pans out. I'm not gonna cry and complain just to be proven wrong and look like an idiot. You know, no offense, Chris. I just want to see how it pans out.
I mean, I could be proven right with this next season, by the way, or whatever. But
like you were proven
I'd rather be wrong, by the way. By the way, I'd rather look stupid and be wrong. I was stupid.
Like
I was wrong about Cole Palmer, by the way. No, I'm not wrong about Reece James.
And you're wrong about Reece James as well.
I'm not wrong.
I'm just curious to see how it pans out. Really, I'm not fussed. Like, I'm not gonna cry the way. I guess I'm just curious.
And I should point out too, guys, that this is technically a recommendation via Shields. Sorry, that name was escaping me for a minute. So I mean, if that gives you any solace, like maybe, I don't know, it's still a big risk. Like, I admit it is a big risk, right? But at the end of the day, the way I see it is that if he truly has a system, and I saw it's the same exact way with McKenna, because people want to say championship. People say championship, and I'll even give company the benefit of the doubt, right? People want to say championship this, championship that, all that, and this and that, whatever. Here's the thing. Company was killing it in the championship, right? People were hyped about him. He was doing really well last season. He came up and he completely flopped. But there's context to that. You can't expect to instill that same type of system that you have at Burnley in the championship when you have now been promoted with a championship team and a championship quality team to the Premier League. It's different than if you were a championship manager and then you get a job at a Premier League team with Premier League quality players. What I'm trying to say is that if Enzo or McKenna or whoever had, and this is why I didn't want Frank, because Frank actually had Premier League level players. They were proven, they stayed promoted. At that point, I consider them Premier League level players. They experienced the squad, all this and that. They didn't get relegated. They're still in the Premier League. So at this point, he now has Premier League proven, Premier League players. What he's doing with Brentford, I don't think is good enough. His system is not adapting. His system is not proving to do anything well. And I don't think he's adapted. That's why I never wanted him, because now he's in the Premier League with Premier League players trying to implement his system. If the system that McKenna or Maresca have is good enough for championship and to dominate the way they did, both of them, right? Then the way I see it is that if he takes that, implements to Chelsea with this team that got sixth place with individual brilliance. I need to emphasize that. This team got sixth place with just the players. There was no tactics. There was not really much thinking in terms of a system until the very end, when there was 5 games left. And part of me wants to think that Pochettino did it out of spite, to show the owners that this is why I want to sell Enzo. You see how he's held me back this whole time? That's just my tinfoil hat. But we managed to get this far in the Premier League based on individual brilliance. And in the last 5 games where we instilled a system, we got to 6th place. If we beat Sheffield and Burnley, we're in top 4. We exceed expectations. So if someone's trying to tell me that a manager that actually has a system, actually knows how to coach, actually has tactics and can adapt, and we've seen it against Leicester when we played them in the FA Cup. Those motherfuckers almost came back and beat us, by the way. They almost made a comeback and beat us. They went down to 10 man, and we had more of a depth than they did. So if this manager comes in with tactics, system, man management, so on and so forth, you're telling me that this team that got 6th place with individual brilliance can't then exceed the expectations and the standards that we set last season? Everyone wants to go crazy about, how can we expect top 4 out of this guy? How can we expect top 4 out of this guy? Well, we didn't expect top 4 out of the team last season, and look what happened with no manager. Let's just be honest, with no manager, pretty much, with no tactics.
Marshall, that's not even true, because people did expect top 4. Because I remember during shows, Kieran Casually, Sarcasm City, Ahmed's channel, etc., when I was probably one of the only few Chelsea fans that said we'll finish between 6th or 8th. When I said 8th, Chelsea fans were on my neck saying, how can you say that? We can easily get top 4. Poch's experience, he knows what he's doing. Look how great our squad is. Now all of a sudden we're bad. No, let's not do that. I think there's no reason why we can't minimum challenge for top 4. Like, people stop complaining about Enzo. Let's just see what happens. He might do a great job. He might not, but we don't really know. Let's just wait. That's just like wait and see. Because I'm just sick of Chelsea fans always.
No, obviously that's what gets me, and that's why I took a break, because like I needed, and that's why I haven't been covering this news, because quite frankly, I don't need to cover news that one hasn't been confirmed, two, it's just making me pissed off because Chelsea fan base always want to criticize no matter what appointment we have all the time. And similar to Chris, prior to us actually informing him, wanted to judge the manager based on the fact that he's championship, and at the same time rated another manager in the same level championship with no experience watching them, just based off what he read on Twitter and so on and so forth. So
people will not rate Enzo, but yeah, when I say let's sign Victor Osimhen, people will tell me let's sign Ivan Toney. Look what he did in the championship, as a dumbass excuse. People will tell me play in the Matson because he did well in the championship as a stupid excuse.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we? You're always sitting on the fence, so you can say I told you so. Just go suck your mom. Anyways.
But yeah, but and you know what? These two comments right here are absolutely right. Like, I'm not trying to overhype it, right? And I'm not trying like to say like this is the guy. We're gonna win everything with this guy. Obviously, time will tell. We will see if the actual appointment was right, because this recruitment team, they have fucking balls to actually give this guy a 5-year deal +1. That's insane to me. Like, they're really putting it all on this. After this season, or after, I guess, these 2 or whatever seasons, obviously there's going to be context, right? I think you should be able to get top 4 this season with this manager. Because if you're able to do it if you're able to get top 6 and only be 5 points away from getting top 4 if you actually win the Sheffield and Burnley game, right? If you actually managed to do that with a manager who was incompetent and didn't have a strategy, and it was, according to rumor, right, well, time will tell, was constantly injuring his players, setting up basically his own demise, then, Will, can you please go on Twitter? Then I genuinely think that a manager who actually has a strategy and a style of play could take this team to the next level. And people want to say the pressure. Look, maybe it is a lot of pressure. Maybe. But okay. Chris, can you send him the link, please? So the thing is that like that's where I'm at. So if he has an actual style of play, if he actually implements this and develops these players, because I went to playback the other day and I was on Matisse's playback, and I literally asked the panel, how many players did Pochettino realistically develop? And some of them are wishy-washy, but I gave them to them. With leniency, they were able to name 5 players. 5 players out of a squad of 20-something, by the way, guys. That's not good enough.
Which 5?
You're not going to agree with them. And I try to give him a lot of leniency. Malo Gusto.
I don't think we'll have to.
I know. Malo Gusto, Nicholas Jackson, Madueke, Petrovic, and there was another one in there. Cole Palmer. I gave a lot of leniency. Because honestly, if it was up to me, I'm not putting Malo Gusto in that list because we don't know what he was like at Lille. He was highly rated at Lille and his stats were looking brilliant. He's exceeded that. And he was always good from the jump. Even in preseason, we saw how good he was, right? I'm not putting Cole Palmer in that list either because Cole Palmer, as far as I'm aware, could have learned everything that he learned on that pitch from Pep Guardiola. Okay? Not from Pochettino.
The thing with Cole Palmer as well is he never got a run of games at City to show what he actually was as well. That's got to be considered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, and I said this, like, if Palmer were at City, we don't see this Palmer because I think Palmer is genuinely bottlenecked based on what Guardiola wants to do. We're seeing with Haaland, we're seeing with Jack Grealish. These players have to adapt to Pep Guardiola's system. They don't get to go and play their own football. Palmer this season, because there was no tactics, no system, no nothing, got to play his own football. And we saw what this guy can do on individual brilliance. So then Petrovic, really, like, Petrovic was
one of the most highly rated goalkeepers in the MLS.
Yeah. So realistically, like, if it's up to me, and maybe I'm being harsh, but you guys can tell me, I will give you Nicholas Jackson and Nani Madueke. Nani Madueke is questionable because he didn't get the playtime last season.
I'm not giving them Madueke. I'm not giving them Jackson.
So I'll give him Jackson because you can see over the course of the season, Jackson did get better. So I'll give him Jackson.
I'll be real. Like, again, I've been a defender of Jackson, But Jackson got better because of confidence, not because.
Oh,
of
Conor Gallagher. Yeah, I'll give you that. Whatever. Conor
the only
Gallagher.
player I'll give is Gallagher, and Gallagher didn't get better. He just played more games. These players this season, they've improved, you can say, but they've only improved because of in-game experience.
No, but he fucked your mother. Listen, Poch only got sacked a week ago, so you can suck my dick. It's not like he was gone 5 years ago. So eat a fat turd, you dumbass. Continue.
Even 5 years, I will still be talking about Pochettino, even in 5 years.
Worst manager of all time.
Anyway, I told people, but people wanted to tell me it was Potter.
Yeah. So we realistically named two players that he's improved. You don't think Enzo Maresca comes into this team and actually does more than that?
Marshall, he hasn't improved. Maybe you can say in terms of game experience, fine. But in terms of tactically, these players look more or less the same as when we first got them.
Damn.
No one's improved. No one can tell me they've improved tactically.
Yeah. No. That's what I mean. Like I some of these guys were trying to say Caicedo. I was like, no, Caicedo was good prior to coming to Chelsea. When he came to Chelsea and trained under Poch, he declined and then came back to level. So what are we talking about, Caicedo? That's ridiculous. So like when you think about it, it's not good enough. It's not good enough to develop two players out of a squad of 20 something. It's like, what are we saying? So that's why, like, I can't imagine that disappointment of Enzo, seeing all the things that have been said, seeing all the stats, seeing all the system and all this and that. I just can't imagine that he can't develop. But time will tell. Time will tell. We will see what happens when it's on the pitch. Because it's one thing to talk about it, right, guys? And it's a whole other thing to actually see it develop and flesh out on the pitch, which I understand. And again, I'm still nervous, but I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to back the manager. I'm going to give him time, and we're going to see what happens. Like, honestly, for me, preseason, you take the qualifier, right, for the Conference League, and let's say maybe the first 5 matches of the season. I think that's more than enough time to implement a system and get your players running the way you're supposed to. Yeah, no, I'm not. Plus, he's not even in here. So you can hold that, Ahmed.
Did you ban him?
Ahmed?
No, I timed him out.
It said banned when I read it, by the way.
Wait, what did he say?
Yeah.
I'll unban him. Oops. I meant to time him out. I didn't mean to actually ban him.
Yeah, you banned him.
I just
I
said put user in timeout. I didn't put banned.
No, you definitely banned him. I read banned.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh well, Ahmed, I'll unban you later. You can hold that, bro. Fraud. But anyways, he asked me if we're gonna do a stream today. I said, yeah, depending on if it gets announced. And then I said it gets announced, and where is he? He's not even here, so he can hold that. So, okay, let's actually continue on to more stuff on Enzo Maresca and the plan going forward with Enzo. And also for Ahmed, I got you, man. This is for you.
I'm always losing. I'm just losing, man. Every time I win, I just lose.
Okay, so let's discuss a little bit of the plan going forward with Enzo Maresca. And here we go. So we have the following. Some managers gave a feeling they were risking their careers by taking the Chelsea job, but Enzo Maresca knows this is a big opportunity for his career. Yeah, and I don't realize. I don't think the fans are really, or not the fans, the potential managers that are out there won't see it differently. I honestly think that if disappointment doesn't work out, we're fucked. We're absolutely fucked.
I think they're sacked as well, by the way. They're fucked as well.
And I think the recruitment team is definitely sacked. 5+1. Like, if you did like 2+1 and it didn't work out, maybe you save your job. But 5+1 and it doesn't work out, you're definitely getting sacked. Definitely getting sacked.
Can I have my say on the contract, by the way?
Go for it.
So I don't, basically, boils down to this. I don't really care about the contract length. First of all, as Scott said, there are going to be a series of out clauses that mean that, you know, when everyone was speculating on the Potter that we'd have to pay him £60 million or the better part of that because that was the length of his contract, that's not what's going to happen. It didn't even happen with Potter. We paid him, like, what, £11 million as a parting fee? So there will be something similar with Maresca. As a matter of fact, it will probably be less because he's on a lesser salary. Secondly, this ownership can't win, can they? Because
No, they never can.
Because when it's a long contract, it's too long, and when it's a short contract, they don't back their own appointment. So what can we do here? How can we please you?
It's honestly, I think
Not
the
possible.
only way the fan base would have been pleased is bring back Jose, give him a 5-year contract.
Nah. That's
Hey
too much.
guys, how are you doing? How's the panel doing?
Big up, Will.
bad.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were
I
on
kind of backed the short contract for like surely it's more expensive to sack a manager with like 5 years left on his contract over 1 year. That's why I kind of support that idea because it made sense to me because they're not proven.
Mhm.
That's why I kind of backed that. I actually backed that from the start. That type of idea on Poch. I even said on stream.
Let's continue some of these tweets because there's a little bit more that I want to discuss. This because it gives us a little bit of more context around Enzo Maresca, right? So yeah, Maresca was enthusiastic. Who knows? Maybe because of the fact that you can have Chelsea on your CV. Maybe because the salary increase. Maybe because of the project. Maybe he's actually passionate about it and he could see himself doing well. We won't know. And time will tell with this one. So I just putting it all out there. There's different perspectives on this. I'm not being just one-sided, right? 5 is not only the length of contract, but Chelsea could make 5 signings this summer, maybe more or less. Let's see. But they're looking at goalkeeper, center back, striker, and wingers, according to Fabrizio Romano. I know we are linked to Olise. We're still in the market for Tosin. Goalkeepers, I heard some other links that we'll talk about on Sunday. And as for strikers, Osimhen is still out there. Sesko is still out there. Time will tell. We continue on. Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart spent most of today in Costa del Sol with Enzo Maresca. They discussed transfer targets. Priorities are left back, forward, and goalkeepers. So listen, just because they want a head coach and not a quote-unquote yes man doesn't mean that the head coach isn't going to have a say in what he needs in the team. I think the approach that we're taking now is more suitable. Tell us what you need in terms of a profile. We'll go find the players. That's how recruitment teams should work. I don't want Maresca looking for the talent. I don't. He doesn't. I want him to coach. I want him to manage. I want him to do what supposedly Tuchel would have done, right? But whatever. We continue on. We have here Maresca impressed in talks and is viewed as the ideal fit at Chelsea. He focuses on possession-heavy football. We continue on. Chelsea players are excited about Enzo Maresca. They believe momentum is on their side and 4-3-3 should favor the squad. That's coming from Ben Jacobs. I don't know how true that is.
That's just waffle because they were saying a week ago they're not happy Potts got sacked.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing there?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't know about that one, but we'll just put it in there because Ben Jacobs is saying stuff. And then, God damn it, why does this keep happening? Okay, we'll stop it there, and then we continue to the ending of the stream. But I guess this is overall the plan that is being set. What Enzo Maresca is going to do, what we're going to do for him in terms of transfers, so on and so forth. Ahmed, you just joined us. You haven't said much of anything because you did just join us. But my friend, overall, what do you think in terms of the plan that Enzo Maresca has set out, his style of play, and do you think what do you think about the 5-year appointment?
One thing I will start with in regards to the 5-year deal. I actually made a comment, that on my stream when the announcement of a 2-year deal by Simon Jordan was made. I said at that time, 2-year deal means they're trying to essentially force this guy to just come from the championship to get top 4 and some level of and to get basically a conference league, right? And for me, I thought that was extremely wrong because fundamentally, this guy's from the championship. Yes, we could say the squad may be ready for top 4, but is this guy's tactics ready to take him to top 4? He's gonna make mistakes. He's a manager that's got limited experience. I feel like that's a bit unfair on him as a player, as a manager, in my personal opinion. So that's one thing for me. So the 5-year deal obviously kind of at least for me makes it seem like it's not necessary for you to get top 4, but you should be getting top 6 and more than likely the Conference League, which makes sense to me personally. In regards to his tactics, my knowledge again is very limited again in regards to his tactics. But from what I'm hearing, he seems to be like a Pep 2.0 or something like that, or within that similar play style. Now, for me, the thing that's gonna matter for Maresca isn't gonna be necessarily just his play style. What's gonna matter for him is he gonna be able to handle the heat? He's going to a top 6 side. He's going to go Chelsea Football Club, where there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. Yeah, from the media, from the ownership, from the players themselves. You know, they're going to be looking at him. Can he manage that? Has he got those sort of things on board? If he doesn't, then he is cooked. It doesn't matter how good his tactics is. He's finished.
Okay. Well, one thing we got to say is, Ahmed, you don't know much about his tactics because you were not tuned into Casually FC, where we discussed it all. You know, we are an elite channel. And ladies and gentlemen, 59 likes, and we're about to approach 3-hour stream, is not elite number of likes. So if you want to be elite and not like Ahmed, you must smash the like button. Big up to everyone watching us, and big up to all of you guys tuning in, and big up to all the new members that we have here. So that being said, and I am partially trolling, obviously. Listen, I understand the notion that maybe top 4 might be unfair, but where I disagree is in 2 points, right? One, I think people completely overestimate how capable this team is actually of making top 4. So I go back to what I said 20 minutes ago. With a lack of a system, lack of tactical prowess, we were able to get into top 6 on individual brilliance, and we were only 5 points away from actually getting into top 4. So if we instill a system like we did in towards the last 5 games of the season, if we instill that over a course of a season, I can see us actually being in top 4 for most of next season. If the research, wait, real quick, Prime. If the research that was actually done is actually done, and this appointment is the guy that these guys actually think fits most of our players, if they actually did their research and they really truly believe that over the course of 5+1, this guy has a system that could work, then bon voyage. Like we're out here. We're gonna start, actually seeing progress at a huge level, and that's where my second point comes in. Like I said, with a system, I truly believe that this team can get top 4. And I don't think that's asking for too much, considering we were able to get this 5 points away with a lack of a system and lack of tactical prowess. Prime, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and also, with the amount of injuries that were caused under Potter, or under Poch, just having players like Nkuku fit, and Lavia and Chuameka, then we're instantly a better team. Like having a cohesive structure and having some of our better players fit, we will be better than last year. Ahmed here. Oh, big up Ahmed.
Big up, bro.
Could I add to the point as well?
I don't know that Palace fans here, but
Prime and then Will.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Will.
Oh, I thought
Prime's done.
Yeah. Okay. Also, assuming that the 2 Europa League teams in Tottenham and United perform in that, the coefficient should go up as well. Hopefully, so we could be looking at 5th for Champions League football. Initially, I really did not want this appointment. Initially, I'm still not convinced, but
I agree with this, by the way, as well. I agree with Will on the part of not wanting this appointment.
But I'm not gonna completely write it off just because stylistically, I get why he's been appointed. Again, I don't really blame the whole he nearly bottled the promotion to that high of a level of an argument, just because he nearly bought promotion for one. He didn't actually bought promotion. And I guess for 2, at least he showed the style play that he wants to execute, and that Leicester team were changed completely in style of play. It was almost like a revolution. So him imprinting his ideas, if he can do it quick enough, I'm not too worried about the tactical side of it. As Ahmed said, the political things that happen at Chelsea, when eventually the club makes decisions for him, which is all well and good saying before he's worked with the players, because managers like Poch, we thought were going to be a similar type of personality. We thought he knows why he's here, he knows what he's going to have to do. And at the end of the day, halfway through the season, when the politics come into it, and maybe some of his favourite players aren't favoured by the hierarchy, we don't know how that's going to happen. So I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying not to complain. I'm trying to back him, which I will do. But
you know, can I say something, Will?
Yeah, go on.
Can I say something, Will, bro? You don't need to. You listen. You're allowed to complain, my friend. You know what I mean? No. I think that's definitely wrong. By the way, I think you, Chris, me to an extent, we have the right to complain about the fact that they're going for an extremely high risk guy, from the Championship. Whether you want to admit it or not, that is something that we should be able to have the right to complain about.
Wait, real quick before Will goes, let me just clarify something. Out of what we're talking about, the people that you just named, and Ahmed, I don't know your knowledge on this. I know Will actually knows what he's talking about in terms of McKenna, Enzo Maresca. He's done his research. I'm sure he's watched the games and all that stuff. He has the right to complain, because if he truly believes that based on what he's seen, it's not good enough, then sure. Chris, on the other hand, didn't really know much outside of what was said on Twitter and so on and so forth. It happened in this stream where we told Chris, like, look at this, that. And Chris actually decided, okay, you know what? Now that I've seen it, it kind of did relax. Like, that's the thing. I think what I'm trying to tell people and what I'm trying to tell the fan base is that, motherfuckers, do your research before you start saying, boo-hoo, this and that.
So,
let's be honest. Ahmed, let's be honest. Honest.
Marshall, what you're saying, what you're saying.
What I'm trying to tell you is that, Ahmed, you even admitted when you came on the stream, listen, I don't know much about Enzo Maresca. So how can you sit here and complain when you don't actually know that much?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So if you're the reason why I can say that is because I've never seen a top 6 club go out and appoint a Championship manager. You know what I'm saying? The exception obviously happened to us with Lampard, but at least the reason with Lampard was we had a transfer ban. There was an actual reason why the Lampard one made sense. It was probably everyone thought it was going to be a free hit season. Okay, let's just bring him in and let's let the magic happen. The problem is right now, you've had so many other options, right? You had De Zerbi, a guy whose tactics probably fit into this team quite well. Yeah, Amorim, was a great option there too. But of course, but again, I've said this before. His tactics, I'm not sure would have worked well with the current midfielders we had. Right? There's still others that we could have looked at, which we've spoken about before here, but they sadly rejected us. So for me, going down to the depths of the Championship, to look for managers, it's not a great look, bro. Whether you want to admit or not, that's not really the standard of manager I'm looking to be managing Chelsea Football Club.
Real quick, I know, Prime, I know you disagree. Real quick, I just want to answer this chat right here. Nah, that sounds elitist. Everyone's entitled to complain or be positive, Marshall. Do you have to do research to be positive as well, or just complain? That's why I told you guys, I was not reacting until I actually saw the manager and I did my research, and with you guys here on stream, learned more about Maresca. And to this day, I still say, I don't know. Let's see what happens on the pitch, because it's one thing to see this all pretty nearly on the screen, and then another thing to actually see it on the pitch. What I don't like is bitches. Let's just be honest. I don't like bitching. I'm not going to sit here and deteriorate my mental health just to sit on Twitter and bitch about something I know absolutely nothing about, which is what the majority of the Chelsea fan base love to do. They like to play down all this and that. Let's see how it plays out, and then we can complain. That's all I'm saying. You're entitled to complain.
I can agree.
This is what I'm trying to say. You're entitled to complain and bitch and say what you want to say, but at the end of the day, am I gonna respect your opinion? Fuck no, because half the time you guys don't do your research. You guys are just reacting. I don't like reactiveness. I don't like bitchiness. That's all I'm saying. Wait, let me just land real quick. And that being said, look at what Arteta did, right? And I know he's an example. He's just an example I'm putting out there.
And I'm listening.
In the beginning, I'm sure Arsenal fans bitched about it. They said all this and that. Oh, look at him. He's not managerial experience, all this and that and that. And then look at what he's doing in the long run. There was progress, right? And now there's so many of these Arteta outers that want him in. Look at Xavi Alonso. Everyone questioned it. Everyone was saying, oh, I don't know. This guy has no experience, all this. I'm sure the Leverkusen fans bitched about it. And then look at what happened. So I'm just saying, let's see what happens. I'm not a fan of the appointment because you guys in the panel, Ahmed, you know, I wanted Tuchel. I wanted Sarri. I wanted Hansi Flick. The pictures are still here in StreamYard. These are the managers that I wanted. But at the end of the day, the decision has been made.
I know.
And I'm going to see, what happens. Like, there's a reason these pictures are here.
Marshall, by the way, just let me finish. I'm gonna finish this, and after that, it's all yours, Prime. Please, seriously, Marshall. You know my view. I've said literally, I've got to back the manager now, and hopefully he bangs. That's what I've always said, right?
Yeah.
But I think, But so for me, but the thing I will say, is that I do think, Chris, Will, and myself can't initially say we're kind of unhappy about it. We kind of don't like it initially because of like some of the stigma that we might have in regards to the championship level because of where our club has been at. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
I will say as well, just one thing before Prime. Sorry, literally, Prime. I'm not even making a point. I'm just adding on to something that's previously said. Maybe from my point of view as well is that I've watched probably around six full 90s of Leicester this season. Probably, yeah.
More than most fans.
I probably have watched them lose 2 of them, which may make it seem, and maybe draw another. That might make it seem worse than he is. So my sample size might be more negative than a fan who's watched like 30 plus games. So I'm just going to say that as well. Like, although I have maybe watched him more than a lot of people, that doesn't really. I don't think that gives me to have more of an opinion. Just because I could have been unlucky with the games I watched.
Go ahead, Prime.
Go ahead, Prime.
When this whole talk about people not having an opinion, I'll be real. If you're just gonna
Prime, you're lagging.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Listen, while we're waiting for Prime to fix his internet. You're still lagging, bro. Just go, come back in, bro. Go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come back in.
You guys hear me?
Yeah. What?
I can hear that.
No, but go out, come back in. As in, like.
Restart your thing. What were we gonna say, Ahmed?
So while I'm waiting for Prime, I'm gonna talk about Curry. Curry Prime made a point about Ange. The reason why his Ange point doesn't make sense here is because I actually was one of the few guys to respect Ange Postecoglou, right?
Yeah,
and the reason why,
research.
Because the reason why, is because I knew he was at Celtic Football Club. The difference between the difference is at Celtic you're expected to win every single game in the Scottish League. Anytime you draw or lose, the Scottish media is onto. They're analysing your every single move there. So he had some level of top experience. Celtic is a big club, so that one's kind of disingenuous. The reason why the Xavi Alonso that you've made, the Xavi Hernandez points and everything like that, the difference with those ones again is that they're former players. Again, one of the things I will say is if you're a former player of a club, it's a lot easier for you to be accepted by a fan base because they can think, he's a former player, he knows what he's doing, he knows what the club's ethos is and everything like that. That's why, by the way, the first time Lampard came, a lot of people were willing to accept him. Same with Xavi, same with a lot of these other players too.
I think as well. Yeah, go on. Actually.
Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say with Xabi Alonso as well. I think the expectations were a lot different as well because they were just outside the relegation zone. So I think that's why as well there was more fans open to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, listen. People have the right to be upset about the appointment. I'm not saying you can't. But there's a difference between being upset about the appointment because he's just simply not the experienced manager you wanted, or you just look at championship. That's your analysis. He's championship. Versus someone like Will, who has seen more games than you, or someone like, let's just say out there Kafka's, who's done his research and homework on Enzo Maresca, and them being upset about it. They at least have a reason to be upset. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't just waste your mental health and your mental space on being upset over something you actually don't know why you're even upset about, other than just a surface level. Go ahead, Prime. I think you're back.
That's what I wanted to get to. Like, I disagree with you, Marshall. Unless you've actually done your research, I don't think you have a right to complain. Because that's all these Chelsea fans do. They complain for the sake of complaining without offering solutions. You don't want Maresca, fine. Who else do you want? Because you also said you didn't want De Zerbi. You also said that you didn't want Amorim. You say you want Tuchel back, but when Tuchel was here, you guys also wanted him sacked. You don't want Conte because he's a terrorist. You don't want Jolie back because he's a terrorist. You guys have never wanted Simeone for years because he's also a terrorist. You don't want Allegri because he's also a terrorist. Like, what do you want? I'm happy these owners are not listening to the Chelsea fans and actually sticking to whatever vision that they have. Crying's your specialty. Yes, I'm sick of Chelsea fans just crying for the sake of crying. If you're someone like Will who's done his research and you still don't want Maresca, then that's fine, fair enough.
By the way, I'm not upset. I'm not even on the sense of I 100% don't want him. I'm just like, he would not have been in my top 3-4 choices over.
I know he's not. I know.
Yeah.
He's not in my top choices.
Yeah, he's not in mine either.
However, like, I've also done a bit of research on him, and I understand why they picked him. I'm not going to sit and cry about it. I understand why they picked him. I'm going to back him while he's here, at least until, like, if it goes bad. I'm not going to be against him from the beginning and hope that he fails, because why do I want him? Even Potter and Poch, who I didn't want, I still, like, backed it at the beginning until it started to go bad. I still had positive thoughts until it started to go bad. You know why? Because regardless of what you guys may all think of me, I'm not a bad, vindictive person that only does agendas. I want the best for my football club. I don't care about whether I'm right or wrong. As long as my football club does well and succeeds. So put your opinions and your emotions to the side, and let's just see.
See? Like, even this, for me, it's too much. Like, I'm giving him 5 games in the Prem because he's going to have 5 preseason games, a Conference League qualifier, and 5 games in the Prem. And I understand that if his first game, he needs to win. This manager needs to win.
Who do we have enough? Is that confirmed? I don't think it is it?
We don't have a schedule yet.
Wasn't where Man City?
I think Gary P is right. 10 games.
I think 5 games. Too hasty, Marshall.
I gave 5 games and preseason and the qualifier to at least show me some system or something that gives me promise that, okay, I can see this working, you know?
No, because preseason doesn't mean anything to me. Just about fitness. So let the 10 games play out. And 10 games is like 2 months. So that should be enough games in the season for us to have a bit of something to judge up. And even then 10 games might not be enough, because I remember 10 games in last year, Ange Postecoglou was manager of the season. Van de Ven was the best fullback the best centre back in the league. Assume was better than Declan Rice, and Spurs will challenge for the title. Fast forward 38 games, and Spurs finished 3 points away from us. So even 10 games might not be enough to fully judge. So that's why I say just give it time and relax. I think Chelsea will have a good season.
I think it's fine to give it time as long as we're seeing progress.
I'm the pessimist. So if I'm being positive about it, maybe people should just relax.
I'll be so honest as well. I think with the coach you're getting, because he's a rookie and because the style of football, it is JDP. It's not like I'm in an arm about it. This is positional play. He's really trying to play similar to Pep. Obviously, it's different, but it is JDP. Because of that, and because he's a rookie, I really struggle to want him out unless it's a level where we're like at Potter level and where we're getting closer and closer down the table and it's actually getting worrying. For me, if Enzo fails objectively, although I don't think I can be personally like hateful towards him at any point in the season or overly critical, because at the end of the day, I get why he's chosen to leave Leicester as well. Leicester have got some issues with how they spent over the last recent years. They might even get a point deduction, by the way, which is another reason for him to leave and take this job. Obviously, Chelsea's a big club. He has contacts at the club already. I struggle to put this on him if it goes wrong. When there's been reports and leaks from the media that the ownership weren't even fully convinced on this decision by the sporting directors and that they're just going to go ahead with them. So if the ownership wanted someone else like De Zerbi and the sporting directors have gone with Maresca and they put their faith in the sporting directors, if this goes tits up, the sporting directors need to have 90% of the blame. And I don't want to see people trying to clown on Enzo if this goes badly. Because as much as
it's on the directors.
As much as I didn't want him, I can't really expect him to do much. I think the squad is good enough, though. The squad is good enough to get at least 6th again. If I see him get 6th and the football's better and I see some improvement, fine, we move. If it gets drastically bad, then we'll reassess. That's how I see it.
Baller, let me just address this comment.
Well, I'm happy.
Can you guys, real quick, Brian, let me just address this comment. Can you guys hear yourself? You want to play possession football and you want it implemented within 10 games. This channel is delusional. Okay? And then before you said, I shouldn't be biased, help my channel growth and all that fun stuff. Listen, there's plenty of channels who are completely biased in the opposite direction of mine. They love to complain. They love to say everything and anything they can against the owners, so on and so forth, no matter what it is. And they're doing just fine. You could say I'm on the opposite spectrum. I like to think I'm just trying to be rational and down the middle. I criticize the fact that it's a 5+1. I don't like that. I've said before, I'm not a fan that it's Enzo Maresca, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to do my research and see why they picked this guy. And if they really believe in the system, then if it's implemented, then we should do well. I'm just thinking logically and I'm being logical about this. I'm not being reactionary. I'm not being emotional. I'm just saying it like I see it. So if you really say it here, Can you guys hear yourself? You want to play possession-based football and you want it implemented within 10 games. Okay, let me tell you why it's not that big a deal. One, because, and yes, I understand different fucking managers and all this, different pedigree, fine. Tuchel came in and implemented a system day one. Day one. It took him one training session. Then you can see another example in let's go to Mauricio Pochettino. The same system that we saw in the last 5 games of the season, Mauricio had already implemented it in the preseason, but he scrapped it for the rest of the season. You know that. I'm not being biased. You know that's true. People on the panel will tell you that's also true. So if he was able to implement a system in 3 games that he had then, right? And then bring it back fucking 33 games later, I'm sure this team is fully capable to learn a system and pick up on it quick enough because, again, we're talking about a young squad. This isn't stubborn players that are going to be hesitant to adapt to a system or not believe in the manager. This is a young squad that can adapt. I personally believe that in 10 games plus a qualifier, that should be more than enough to see something. That's all I'm saying. You could say I'm being biased. You could say I'm hating or whatever the fuck. I just think I'm being in the middle. If you guys disagree, then that's on you. Sure.
That's
Can I ask you a question, Marshall? Can I ask you a question, Marshall? This is a question. This is a question from Ahmed Abdia. Now I've heard rumors, right? I've heard rumors that this guy's very similar to Sarri in terms of like his love for position and positional play, right? And you saw the way. Yeah, you of all people know that it took Sarri a long time to implement his style of play, right?
That's bullshit. So it didn't take Sarri a long time to implement his play.
No. Listen, it took Sarri some time to implement his style of play.
Don't lie.
Yes, what do you mean? Don't lie. It was facts, bro. It took. Listen, I'm a Sarri fan, by the way. Listen, yes, they were playing his style of play, but they were not the plays he had. Don't implement.
Ahmed, don't lie.
you saw it from the first few games in preseason. Like seeing signs of a style does not take long to do. It doesn't. It doesn't take long to implement. Seeing signs of it doesn't take long. So that's why people are like within 10 games into the season, you should be seeing certain signs of what he's trying to do. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, at peak levels, but you should be seeing certain signs of it, obviously. And also what Will said, just what I was trying to get to about Will outlining the fact of it's not the directors, it's not like Bolly or Bolly who hired Maresca, it's the directors. That's a good thing to say from now, because now we know, or at least we know, I don't know the rest of the Chelsea fans, but at least we know if it goes wrong, who takes the blame. But if this goes right, who takes all the praise.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that has been highlighted. So thanks, Will.
On the sorry ball thing, I saw sorry ball from the Liverpool game, which was in September. That's when I first saw it. So
what's the point of this comment? What is the point of this comment? Like, are you trying to prove that he can't implement a system because of
No.
Chelsea fans
But I think the point,
because his original statement was, "You're delusional to think that he can implement a system in 10 games," and this is his reply. But at the end, Chelsea fans booed sorry. What does that have to do with anything?
Oh, fair enough. I didn't see that, but I was actually gonna say this comment. Yeah, the reason, the thing about this comment is interesting is that
they said his style can't work, but he had a style then.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, the thing of sorry style is that obviously there were times where when he,
like it.
like, obviously he wouldn't. There were times when he was using his style where it didn't obviously wasn't effective. And a lot of that was actually because of the players we had, in my personal opinion.
I think so too.
Right. So, but then obviously there's going to be times where there's going to be backlash, right? So I think the one thing I will give these owners is that they will hold firm and allow him to continue that, if that makes sense.
also, let's be honest. As much as I respect a lot of the match goals, etc., and all that crap, Sarri was also not liked because of his personality. Which Enzo's, although Enzo's Italian and it's a similar style play, he is nothing like that personality-wise. I'm pretty sure they actually like him on a personal level, even the ones that were booing his football.
In hindsight, they definitely like him now, I think.
Oh, well, I think they're lining up the West Brom manager who's actually overperformed that squad, so they should be fine. As long as they don't get a point deduction, they should be fine. They'll probably enjoy the West Brom ball more when that match goes, so, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, again, it just, at the end of the day...
I do think that's a risk, by the way, Marshall, though. Like, if they do turn him, if they do turn him because they don't like his style of play, then I can't, like, stupid, of course, but, like, at the same time, that is something you have to think about at the end of the day, man.
I get it. I mean, here's the thing. There's two things I want to say, right? One, I think a big thing that you guys are saying that, maybe was a flaw in Sarri, right? Is that he didn't really, win over the crowd. No. And I think that's similar to Pochettino in the sense that I don't think people really like Poch. Not because he was at Spurs, right? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he came out and said, I don't love the fans. He came out and said, this isn't my Chelsea, or yada, yada, and all this and that. Like, it builds a disconnect. It really does build a wedge because it's like, yeah, this guy's not going to be Chelsea through and through. He's not going to, he's not going to look at the crowd and cheer with the crowd. Like, he's not going to bring the passion that you want from being a match-going fan. That's what you want to see from a manager. As silly as I said. Okay, well, let's go back to why you disagree in a second. The second thing I was going to say, too, is that I think when it comes to what Ahmed was saying, the football on the pitch, you guys, I would hope that you guys know me. I genuinely don't care for the football on the pitch as long as it's getting me results, right? I backed Tuchel through the whole entire thing. Even when the football was looking shit, even when I was getting pissed off that he was getting exposed and he wasn't changing anything. But at the end of the day, and even though the football wasn't necessarily very scintillating or entertaining, especially in the second season, or his first full season, I still backed it because it was getting results. So I genuinely could care less about the football on the pitch as long as you get the results.
But talking about Chelsea fans, like Sarah was talking about challenges of implementing his style of play, but yet he was still implementing his style of play from the first game. Just because there are challenges doesn't mean your style of play is not being implemented, you imbecile. Anyways, back to it. Chelsea fans were complaining about Tuchel when we first got him.
Very
People
true.
were complaining about him up until
People hated the back three.
we beat Real Madrid, and then people started getting gassed, backing Tuchel all of a sudden.
But even then,
So-
Prime, next season, people still bitched about the back three, even though that back three won us the Champions League. So people still bitched about the back three, even
They're
after the
going
fact.
to go down if you don't. So long as you win trophies, I don't care.
Mhm.
I got a preference of what I like to see as a style of play. However, ultimately, I just care about winning trophies. So do whatever you want to do. Just win. I don't care.
Well,
With Enzo,
yeah.
listen, Chelsea fans can complain, but if we play Arsenal in a big game, or we play Spurs or whatever, and we beat them, all of a sudden people will get on his side. Once we win the Conference League, Chelsea fans will say we've won everything in Europe, and they'll get on his side. So I don't care. We'll be fine.
Will, what did you disagree on when it comes to, Poch not winning over fans?
I think he did win them over, but for just different reasons. I think fans are very fickle, so I think that 5-game run at the end gave him a lot
Jesus
more
Christ.
momentum. And also
Yeah.
the fact that he liked Gallagher and at the end used Chalobah a lot, etc. I think that actually won over the fans, even if he did it by accident. I think it was more managers that haven't really been liked. I'd say it's actually more like Potter, to be honest. I think he was more hated. And then going from him to Poch is also why Poch is probably more liked than he should be, because they were comparing it to the previous season. Poch obviously disagreed with some of the owners. A lot of the fans don't like the owners, which made Poch liked even more. And now going to Maresca, I mean, although I think Maresca will be liked just because his personality, he seems like a charming guy without sounding weird. I think they will like him, but I think Poch was liked, I can't even lie. I think around 60% of match goers would say they liked him. Yeah.
Poch was liked. Of course he was liked, but Sarri was on the verge of getting sacked. He wasn't on the verge of getting sacked. Sarri left because Chelsea fans were giving him abuse for half a season, and he got the job offer from Juventus. Sarri wasn't sacked, but whatever.
The only thing that pissed me off with Sarri throughout, outside of the week where he lost 4-0 to Bournemouth and 6-0 to City, he pissed me off when he won the Europa League and dedicated it to Napoli fans. That did piss me off.
That's crazy. I didn't even know about that. That's
I
insane.
don't have a problem with that.
No, I get it,
Napoli
but it did piss me off a little bit. I can't lie. And I liked him a lot, and I wanted him to stay.
Listen, I had an issue with fucking Romelu Lukaku fucking writing love letters back to Inter and Lautaro.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna rub me the wrong way.
I don't like.
He knew he was leaving by that point, though. He knew.
Yeah. That's still
All
different.
I care about is winning. I don't care about all this emotional sentiment stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Just win.
Yeah. You're emotionless.
That's the thing in the end of the day. Like that, as Will said, fans are very fickle. So I'm not.
Fans are very fickle.
I'm not going to let them police and dictate the style of play and things like that. Absolutely.
Exactly. And just an hypothetical, right? Like, if Maresca, and this is what I think is going to happen. If Maresca were to win his first 5 games of the season, I guarantee you Chelsea fans are going to come out, I always backed this manager. This is why he won the championship. Exactly. We're in a title race and all this. And it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, guys. Like, I don't, oh my God.
I'm going to make a prediction, I'm going
to wait till January to make any prediction like, oh, we're going to be in the title race or like this guy's good for the rest of the future. I'm going to wait till January to at least see, progress. I'm going to wait the first 10 games that we have, including preseason and the 5 games of the Premier League to have faith that, okay, this is something that's going to take us forward. And then January to see if this is really the guy that's going to take us long term. But what are you going to say, Will?
I'm going to make like an early prediction now, not of like position or where we're going to finish, whatever. I have a feeling he's going to start very well, and it's going to set an unrealistic expectation on him. and then towards the end we might not perform to the level the fans then will have after the first 10-ish games, and I think then they might turn on him based off of that. I don't know why. I just have a feeling he's going to start well and it's going to tail off a little bit, which wouldn't really be his fault necessarily, because again, this squad is still young. It is talented, but young players do have the tendencies to drop in and out of form. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping for like a solid league finish, 6th, 5th, 4th, around that, and then a Conference League win. I'd be content with that.
This is what I'm saying right now, and it might vary depending on the window. But the way I see it right now with our current squad, win the Conference League, win either a domestic trophy or the Conference League. Get into top 4. I'm saying it right now. Clip me. These are my expectations.
Oh,
Marshall, go and have a look at the teams in the Conference League. We need to win that.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not doing this Conference League, or the Conference League has to be guaranteed.
The hardest team is Rennes, by the way. The hardest.
See, the thing is,
or Fiorentina.
The thing is that this is where I show my nervousness with the new manager. Right? I understand that systematically and all this shit, it looks nice, but because I haven't seen it yet, and because I don't know what this is going to look like when it's on the pitch, and what it looks like in the Premier League, I'm hesitant to set the bar at you need to win a domestic Conference League and top 4.
Marshall, that's not what Oliver said. We're saying we have to win the Conference League. Even if Poch was still here, I'd expect Poch is.
But this is where I go the negative route. What if this manager actually sucks, and it actually is worse than Potter, and we actually lose to like Olympiacos? You know,
Marshall, we don't know, but even Poch's style of play. Okay, we got top 4. Talking about anyway. Even with Poch's style of play, we win the Conference League. Like it's the Conference League. There's no team in it that will give us any sort of trouble. Really, I don't care. And this is not me being like elitist, but
that's true.
Maybe it is being elitist. We're Chelsea. I expect us, just like if United were in it, I'd expect them to win the Conference League. I don't care.
I guess that's where my hesitancy goes, is that people say we're Chelsea, right? But when people say we're Chelsea, they think about the past with Roman, when we had elite players, world-class players, and all that stuff. When I say we're Chelsea, I think about the present. This Chelsea team. This is the Chelsea team that deservedly so got Conference League. I hate to tell you people, but we deserve Conference League. We were that shit under Pochettino that we were relegated into Conference League. If we were good enough, we would have gotten Europa League or UCL, but we weren't.
Let's talk about this Chelsea then. I personally, the league table shows it, and also this is my opinion. This Chelsea is better than the West Ham that are currently the reigning Conference League holders right now. Mm-hmm. So why shouldn't and Fiorentina, who were the finalists that West Ham beat, they are one of the harder teams in it this season again. So by that standard, with us being better than West Ham on paper, we should be doing the business.
And also, has the Conference League final happened yet? Because Fiorentina have got to the final again. So
no, I believe it happens like tomorrow or Thursday.
They easily might not be in it, by the way. So they might win.
Really?
They might be in Europa League next year.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask, does teams from Europa League who finish like 3rd get relegated to Europa?
No. So Chris, pretty much what it is we will face 5 other teams. Is it 5 or 6 teams we'll face? Different pots. Because it's now in like a league. So I think 1 to 12, something along like 1 to 12 or 1 to 16 get put straight through. It's like, it's completely different. We'll only face each team once until the knockouts. So
I would say we should be able to use our B team, even C team, for a big part of that competition, that tournament, until like the semi or final.
Guys, it depends on the manager, right? And if the manager's good, then yeah, I agree with you guys. I need to see it first. but based on how we played last season, which I know we're not going to play that way, but based on how we played last season, I'm really hesitant to put chess that a team like us need to beat and win the conference league. Like, we are shit. I hate to say it, we are shit.
Do you, in the conference league, actually, no, let me ask Will this because he might know. In the conference league, are there any teams better than a championship Leicester, championship Middlesbrough,
I'd be having a meltdown too, dude.
Newcastle United, Brighton?
I wouldn't say Newcastle. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I wouldn't say.
I get it. There's beatable teams, but we lost to Middlesbrough this season.
Marshall, I don't disagree though. In the sense that I think we will need to show some of these team respect. But let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I also am getting at.
We should and need to win this competition no matter what. And yes, in the earlier stages, definitely play some youth players, definitely play some younger players we bought, etc. But into the later rounds, definitely show some of these teams respect because anything can happen. And with football, there'll be players that we don't even know of yet in these Conference League teams that are going to have breakthrough seasons as well. So,
Marshall,
you never know, man.
How far do you think we'll go in the Conference League?
I will win it. We will win it. It's heresy.
No, I'm asking Marshall because he wants to be Mr. Negative.
How the tides have turned. Listen. Okay, it depends. Okay, I'll give you two scenarios. If we are shit under Enzo Maresca, then I expect us to get to quarterfinals.
Bro, you can put Pulis in charge and we'll win it.
And get knocked out by like fucking Fiorentina or get knocked out by Olympiacos or something like that, or Rennes. If we're good and if this works out, if this plan actually works out, then I say we win the whole thing.
Marshall, even if we're shit, I expect us to get to the semi-final minimum.
That's what I'm saying. Jenna gets it.
No.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah, but over 2 legs.
Go boys.
We lost.
Listen, I'm being cooked. I'm being cooked because I'm being negative. You see, guys, I can be negative too.
It's not nice, is it?
We lost 1-0 to Middlesbrough, and then the second leg we battered them 6-1.
Exactly.
So
there's no 2 legs in this, or I mean, not all of the games are 2 legs.
But they knew that.
Yes, home and away.
Yeah.
Could I by the way, Marshall, where did we in our shit season, where did we get in the Carabao Cup?
We got to the final.
Where did we get an FA Cup with our shit season?
Semi-final.
So we obviously, these players gel together, less injuries hopefully. We should be able to get to the final with whatever manager we have.
That's one thing I'll give Poch, by the way. That's one thing I will give Poch. That this team definitely gels now. This team definitely understand each other. The players are more together than before. But go ahead, Prime. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they played a year under each other. That's not credit to Poch. That's credit to age and time. But whatever. Yeah. Like
you said, I'm biased. Not you.
I'm not being biased. I'm speaking the truth. But whatever.
So it's crazy. This fucking club is going to be so shameless when they do a trophy parade at the Conference League. I will be there, man.
Stop.
Todd Burley will be there.
Go ahead, Prime.
I don't like. I've actually been watching the Conference League the past 2 seasons when it's been like established. The past 2 seasons, the only team really that would have caused us trouble. Roma, West Ham, not maybe a few others that I can't remember the names of right now. But like not many teams really would have caused us much trouble. It's the Conference League. With all due respect to everyone in it, like Will said, even if we face any tricky sides, I still expect you to win it. When we won the Europa last time, we faced Frankfurt, who were one of the most exciting teams in Europe at that time. And we still found a way to win. I don't care. We're Chelsea. We have better players. No matter if we're shit, we are better than Conference League.
Man said Infinity Stone Parade is crazy because we complete the set. That's great. Oh my god, bro. But that's what I mean. Like, there's still some teams that, if we get to later rounds, could on their day, and if we're having an off day, could knock us out. It's just, I don't know. I need Enzo Maresca to come in and show me a system, and then get us some wins in the Premier League to give me some confidence. Because right now my confidence is low.
Marshall, can I just say, you want to bring up us losing 1-0 to Middlesbrough? I can bring up Graham Potter's Chelsea with players that were on the beach. They didn't want to be there. They didn't want to play for him. They wanted to leave the club. Overturning a 1-0 deficit to Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League in a superior competition.
And remember, at that time,
with worse
this was a Dortmund team that were, at least at that point, it looked like they were
in the Bundesliga. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
This was
That's why we have these discussions, guys.
We could
with generational Bellingham, and he stunk up the place. I don't care, man. Win the Conference League. It's not a discussion.
Incredible.
Go ahead, Will, before we move on to the next topic. The last one.
Ren are in pot 1. We could face Ren in the final, and Ahmed would have to. It'd be the Ahmed Derby. Please. Please.
The Ahmed Derby is crazy, bro.
Hey, he's always winning in that case.
Oh my god, that would actually be a very, very fitting soundboard for that outcome if it were to happen. Let's actually go to the final part of the stream that I wanted to go to, which is kind of addressing the fans and the reactions, which we kind of did do, but this is more just overall like, here, this is stuff to tell you that you might be overreacting. Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley have been empowered by the owners to build a world-class squad and sporting infrastructure, and their success or failure in the endeavor will be judged over the years rather than months or individual transfer windows. So I still hold that if this season very, very, very much falls under expectations, they should go. And I argued that they should go after the Pochettino Manchester United match. But no, actually the Wolves. That's the one that convinced me. But they're still here. And now after thinking about the Pochettino and looking at the bigger picture, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to give him one more chance. And after this season, I don't see something, then I'm ready to get rid of him. But let's continue on. Chelsea have been hiring young coaches pre-Roman, during Roman era, post-Roman. Maybe you just don't know Chelsea. Glenn Hoddle, Ruud Gullit, Gianluca Vialli, Mourinho, AVB, Jesus Christ, Roberto Di Matteo, and Lampard. So this is in response to just a reaction to young manager and all that stuff, which, by the way, I would exclude Mourinho from this conversation simply because, yes, he was a young manager, but he won the UCL with Porto before coming to Chelsea, which is why he got the job. But all these other ones didn't really have much of anything prior to coming to Chelsea yet. I didn't hear the match-going fans really booing them or so on and so forth. But
exactly, yeah. Frank was a fat piece of shit. Di Matteo was a legend.
Jesus Christ. Chelsea fans celebrated when Abramovich appointed Lampard after he took Derby from 6th to 6th. Oh my God, the way he worded that is crazy. From 6th to 6th, but are protesting if Bowley and Igbali chose McKenna after taking Ipswich from League One to Premier League. So forget coaching and philosophy. You just have to be proper Chelsea. And this is a really big point that people don't want to bring up. People were celebrating bringing Lampard, and I felt it was really disingenuous when Ahmed brought this up because he said, "Oh, we were under a transfer ban." You don't think we could have brought in another manager under a transfer ban? Just like right now, we're bringing in these managers under what supposedly is the most unworkable infrastructure in football right now. You don't think? Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Even better. You don't think that people are able to get? Look at Barcelona. Who the fuck wants the Barcelona job? Economic levers FC. The whole corruption. Yet people are still lining up for the Barcelona. Hansi Flick just took the Barcelona job. And that club is in shambles financially.
Marshall, I remember during this time.
Go ahead.
I remember during this time on the terrace, I kept telling people that we could have got a better manager to take the job than Frank. It was a PR move. People didn't want to listen to me. Ooh, transfer ban. No one wants to take the job when they're transfer ban. Ooh, no one wants to work with your young players. But yeah, people will tell me we have the best youth academy in the world. Make that make sense.
Wasn't Ten Hag linked at the time? On my captain.
Maybe? I don't know.
I don't really remember too many getting linked with us that season.
I remember Zidane at one point, but that was never happening.
Yeah.
You guys see what I mean, though? Like, Lampard wasn't showing anywhere near the pedigree or the competency that McKenna and Maresca have shown, and all these other ones that we brought up to Honus, as well as Michel, De Zerbi. But you, like, so many, and I don't want to say my chat, for the most part, I feel like you guys in the chat have been mostly reasonable, have put on pretty good arguments for actually having your reasons to doubt it and stuff. And I agree with it. I hear what you guys are saying. But when you go on Twitter and you see the fan base, the loudest portion of the fan base, and the amount of complaining, it's just like, but you guys were perfectly happy with Frank Lampard despite, the transfer ban. You're going to say, oh, it's because of the transfer ban. Some of you guys argued to give Frank Lampard time when we were in 9th place. I was one of them. So, yeah, Chris, I was. When I meet you guys, I wanted to give Lampard time.
Oh no, his first season
wasn't
that bad. Sorry. I was actually happy with his first season. Getting top 4, I didn't expect. A lot of people didn't expect. In the tallies and all about like the.
I expected it.
I mean, okay, yeah, like there'd be a few, obviously. I don't know. How come you expected? We lost Eden Hazard, no transfer. Just didn't make any sense why we got top 4. I thought we got top 6 this season.
Losing a fat left winger did not mean we shouldn't have got top 4 that season.
A fat left winger.
We had enough experience in the team, more than enough experience in the team to get us to top 4 again. When we got top 4 the season before.
I didn't expect us to get top 4, but I could see the reason of the sense of that it felt like we had new signings. I liked Reece James. I liked Mount at the time. I thought Tammy would be okay. Like, I didn't think Tammy would be special, but I thought he'd be okay. I knew that obviously Ruben and Cho was out for a while, but I still believed in them to be good. So I get it. I do get that point of view of expecting it, but I can't lie. I thought we were going to get like 6th at best that season.
Mm-hmm.
I had us for top 4.
Although the Premier League was worse back then, I can't lie. Like outside of the top 6,
exactly.
Sheffield United got almost. They finished like 10th that season, for fuck's sake. Sheffield United, fucking hell. That's
what? Exactly. A bad Premier League. Of course, we should have finished top 4 with Frank.
Yeah, but the Premier League isn't that great now either.
That's what I was going to say, because Aston Villa, what was Aston Villa's points total again? So we had so they got 68 points to finish 4th. We got 66, 67 under Lampard.
Mm-hmm.
So relatively speaking, it's not that far off. At all.
I think it is slightly. I think the competition is, although everyone I think there's less great teams in that league or less good teams, but I still think it is better now. I'm more competitive now. I can't lie. I'd say barely.
Wait, did you say this season's going more competitive?
Yeah, I'm saying right now the league is in a better shape, I think, than it was when we had Lampard. But I still think it's not great.
I think it's still a bit up for grabs, top 4 in a way, because we don't. Do you think the new manager Liverpool's gonna do well at Liverpool? Because and they might lose Salah this season too.
I expect them to be in Champions League, to be honest.
I think they're gonna fight for their lives. Depending on who they sign, I need to see who they sign as well. Like, because I think Salah's going, and obviously Tottenham are not that great. Arsenal probably be top 4. Man City. That's the only 2 teams I think I can confirm top 4. The rest I think is a free fall. I think it might happen for.
I have a feeling United might get top 4. I don't know why.
I have to see what managers they get as well. Yeah.
Oh, Marshall, by the way.
I am
Thank you, Marshall.
For Champions League.
You're welcome. No insulting in the chat.
Listen, I'm not worried about what Tottenham are doing. I mean, if we're going off, you start as you mean to continue. Their first signing is to renew Werner's loan.
Oh, really?
That's insane.
They have
That is
renewed,
insane.
but a season-long loan from Leipzig. Yep.
Hey, Chris, man, if Chelsea fail again, man, you can go on loan to Tottenham. There you are.
There you go, Chris.
Listen,
I'm a
for,
tired football man.
for anyone that doesn't think that we can't get top 4 next season, right? Spurs, like they're not going to backhand properly in the second season.
Mhm.
I don't care what Man United fans say with Ineos. Until proven otherwise, they're still a mess.
They're in a process as well, though. Yeah, they're a mess.
It's still Man United. They're still a mess. Liverpool.
Yeah.
To be fair, I actually like Slot, and
I think
he's a good coach.
Slot's gonna cook, but they're technically also in a process.
Yeah, I like Slot, but and they could get top 4. They probably should, but they're also going to be in the Champions League, so that'll be added pressure, and people are going to expect them to title challenge. I don't know how they'll deal with that pressure as well. You've got Villa, who are going to be in Europe. That might take a toll. We've got Newcastle as well. Newcastle are not going to be in Europe. They'll have a free hit for top 4. I think they'll finish top 4. But again, out of all these teams I've listed, a few of these teams are going to be under a new process as well. So Why is it we're going to be bad, but everyone else is going to be good? Maybe they'll be bad.
We're all in the same boat, pretty much.
Exactly.
We all have our pros and cons, which makes it so that if we were the ideal team, if we were the already built team in, I'm going to say Man City, because I don't think Arsenal are still done with their building, then we could easily get into the top 3.
And also, Arsenal, they didn't have injuries to deal with this season. Now, with the World Cup, the Copa America, the Olympics, a big injury to Saka or Declan Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, who knows? So,
Arsenal.
I'm telling people it's flats.
I'll be real. As I think everyone agrees here, I don't think City and Arsenal, as sad as it is, I don't think they're our competition this year. I think Arsenal will probably finish second again. City will probably win the league, because I don't back Arsenal to spend enough money in key areas. If Arsenal were a serious club, they would go to Barcelona and sign De Jong, or when they need a midfielder, or when Barcelona need to sell players, or they would go and sign Isak. They might still sign Isak, actually. That's why I think Newcastle might be a bit fucked, because they might lose Bruno G and Isak. I guess City are going to have their own projects and their own transition in itself. If Pep's leaving next summer, they might have to pre-plan for that. Also, Bernardo Silva has a release clause of 50 million now for a couple of the foreign teams. Paqueta, who's their number 1 transfer target, is now going to get banned for years. So they're going to have to reassess and reevaluate. So it is going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of strengths and weaknesses in all these teams. I'm just hoping that the board know what they're doing, and I'm hoping they know that Enzo's going to need time, and they can't put all the pressure onto him. They can't, because it's unfair.
Like I said, I think top 4 is very doable. It is going to be pressure, but listen, if he's as good as he says he is, if he's as good as these scouts and these reports seem to say, then if he has those tools at his disposal with a better team, I think he can definitely make something happen. CFC for life, to answer your question about Slot, I think there's a few reasons, right? Michael Edwards is appointing him, which we don't have a Michael Edwards. If Michael Edwards was the one appointing freaking Enzo Maresca, I'd be a lot more confident as well, right? But there was a point where Michael Edwards was a nobody, and he was, scouting genuinely talented players. So one, this is a Michael Edwards scout, right? Because he's the CEO of sport stuff, whatever, at Liverpool. I forget the actual title. Second, what he did at Feyenoord. Like I said in another stream, PSV, Eindhoven, and Ajax are always the 2 teams, almost like Celtic and Rangers. They're always winning the Eredivisie. for Feyenoord to come in out of fucking nowhere and actually win the league convincingly when you have teams like those two.
No, he's talking about the season before, the one that's
Oh my
that
god!
Arne
Sorry,
Slot
I
actually won.
apologize.
Yeah, that's impressive to me. That would be like, what would that be like? That would be like, I guess, RB Leipzig winning the league at Bundesliga.
No, it would
I
be
can't really
like
think of
Liverpool.
another.
Be like
They
Liverpool
normally
winning
get
the
like
league
top
after 30
5
years.
Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, I don't know. There's a really fair comparison.
Also, Slot only lost one game in that title-winning season, and he
That's
also
insane.
and he got them to a cup final as well the year before he won the league.
Yeah.
He got them to the Conference League final, which
So-
unfortunately.
And
Liverpool.
the other thing too, just to land my point, the other thing too about Arne Slot is that based on what the players have said about him and his tactics and how highly they praise him, as well as, you know, what the tactical analysis says, his style of football, I think he's going to do just fine. I think Liverpool fans are overreacting. What were you going to say, Prime?
Basically, what Klopp did at Liverpool. They're going for the same sort of model. Yeah, Klopp
did at
Slot will be fine.
Dortmund,
And
you
be a
mean?
good coach. No, what Klopp did at Liverpool, he
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think he'll be fine. Like, again, I don't know much about him, but like, just from what I don't know much about him. I haven't done much research because he's not on my clubs. I don't care. But just from what I've heard and stuff, I've heard good things.
Yeah.
However, he is going after a legend, and we've seen in this league, we have examples of managers following.
He's got really big
off
shoes to fill. Yeah.
And failing. So I think he might fail, not because he will fail, but because of the unrealistic expectations that Liverpool fans will put on him and the comparisons. So I feel for him. He doesn't deserve that scumbag of a club. But is what it is.
He might succeed in the sense of, I don't think with the culture of Liverpool, he kind of suits the kind of ethos of that club in the sense of winning the way he wants to win means more than winning itself. Like we've seen that with the Klopp Pep rivalry. Pep wins every time, but whether Klopp's or whether Liverpool are stupid or not by thinking that winning it the way they did when they did means more, etc. Slot is kind of about that. He's had arguments with the media before when he criticised Jose. When Jose beat him, he pretty much criticised the way he plays football and said he'd rather play his way and narrowly lose. So he will probably fit in there because he will try and build something. And Liverpool fans do like that. Whether we see it online, they might be whiny in the last couple of years. The ones in the stadium will probably like Slot a lot, and that could give him enough time. That could give him time because Edwards is probably going to give him time. Liverpool don't really chop and change managers. Even when Rodgers was underperforming, they sacked him when it got really too late, and the market brought Ancelotti and Klopp available to them. So
yeah, but I don't listen. Liverpool fans like to behave like they're holier than thou. I remember they were turning against Klopp up until he actually started winning. They will do the same with Slot until he actually starts winning something. They won't give a 3-4 year process of just doing fuck off. So, ultimately, I guess we'll have to wait and see. My point being, like, ultimately, Chelsea fans, just relax, stop being like pessimistic, and like just wait and see.
That made me. You just reminded me, Prime, that Liverpool fans at one point were actually Klopp out. How did that even happen? Liverpool fans are so. I don't get this, by the way. Liverpool fans that wanted Klopp out.
Last season,
Chelsea fans, yeah, Chelsea fans that wanted Tuchel out, man. Like, how can you want this to happen to your club? I don't get it.
Fans are fickle. If you're not winning, fans don't actually care. People love to pretend, oh, let's do this process. The process only works if you're winning and you're showing signs of winning. Like, if you're not doing anything, who cares? Like, Arsenal fans love to pretend, oh, you would swap to be in our position. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to finish second twice in a row with nothing to show.
No, I'd want to win. If this all goes well, Makes progress.
If I was an Arsenal fan, I would not even saying per se I'd be Arteta out, but I'd be demanding a trophy next season.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say how great you are and not have anything to show for it. The history books will not remember Arsenal finishing second and losing the title by a point. No one will care.
Overall panel, I think I did a good job of setting the show up last minute. We analyzed the manager and talked about it, said our opinions, and I think for the most part we were pretty unbiased.
Yeah,
Damn,
pretty
tough
good,
crowd
Marshall.
here.
Pretty good, Marshall.
Yeah, guys are stinky. And Ahmed's
Get
gonna
off the
disagree.
I
Get off
literally
the
went to
stage.
eat food. I literally went to eat food, by the way, because like my food came and I was too starved.
I'm starving, man. I'm gonna need to go get food now.
Bro, literally, bro. I've been streaming since 8 p.m. I've been streaming since 8 p.m., bro. I've been on like 4 different streams. 4 different streams today, bro.
By the way, eating food is Ahmed's code word for he had to deliver food. He had to deliver the product. Not right, bro.
No, that's crazy, hey man. That's what you're gonna have to ask Reece James. Can Reece James, CD and Reece James, man? I can't wait. I want to see CD and Reece James.
Oh, inverted Reece James. Yeah, well, time will tell. Overall, though, I think we did a pretty good job of giving you as much information on and context on this whole situation. I think we gave you our honest opinions on everything. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is to discuss on this. I think time will tell. Obviously, I probably am going to go back and watch some of Leicester's matches just to see what this style of play is and how he implements it on the Leicester team and see how it, translates over to...
I just want to say quickly, before everyone leaves, tomorrow I will be doing a stream on his playstyle. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to actually do like a deep dive into his playstyle so that people can actually understand how he plays and how he likes to build up.
What time are you doing that stream, Ahmed?
I always do at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. UK time.
My man. I was about to lose my head if he was going to say 10 p.m.
Oh, because we have to be. Yeah.
I know tomorrow's Wednesday. Don't worry, man. Listen, I know it's
the big show. You guys thought this was a big show? Tomorrow's show is going to be the biggest show on this channel, more than you can believe.
Probably not.
You know what, guys? Just for that, I'm doing my show at 10 p.m.
Yeah, no one will be there, Ahmed. So
yeah, everyone's gonna be there, mate. Everyone will be a my show. You know what I mean? If you want the real minerals, you know what, Marshall? Hold that, by the way. Fafana, he hit the view, son. And
he won.
I've not seen him ever since.
Well, guess what? Raheem Sterling is going to be here next season. Cucurella did really well at the end. He didn't get sold. Pochettino stayed after the Christmas time, and then he didn't leave when you threw it. No, and then he didn't get. And then he didn't stay when you thought he was going to stay. It is what it is. But, ladies and gents, one more because I do need to end this show. I'm starving.
Ahmed, you're going to have to do a tactical plan on that. On how Raheem Sterling fits into Crystal Palace when we take Elisa.
Wallahi, man.
Anyways,
Wallahi, bro.
People, I'm gonna end the stream. We're gonna raid TJ over on TJ Miller TV or TJ Warren. Sorry, TJ Miller is someone else completely different. Guys, I need food in me. I've had a protein bar all day. I made a lot of sacrifices to get here to do this stream and set it up the way I did. Very last minute, by the way. And big up T1 for the $7.99 Australian dollar super chat. I think that's what
Aussie
that is.
dollar. The Aussies. Aussie.
Should we not be sacking since everyone else is... Oh, should we not be zagging since everyone else is zigging? As it's all about possession playing from the back. That's what everyone is doing, like Klopp did. I don't know. Because at the end of the day, we're reading all these about his style of play. He might change it depending on this team.
By the way, guys, no one wants to follow Klopp style. If you want to follow Klopp style, we would have gotten our slot earlier.
Yeah. So let's see what happens, ladies and gents. I do appreciate the super chat donation, T1. Thankful for that, and thankful for anyone else that joined the stream. If you haven't smashed up the like button, please do so, as it does help us out tremendously. Thank you for everyone who showed up today to hear us talk about the whole situation with Enzo Maresca. And some of you probably thought we waffled, and that's okay. So at the end of the day, we're here to give you our perspective, and I tried to be as unbiased as possible, and I tried to be as rational and logical about this. I told you I'm nervous about the appointment. I don't know what's going to happen. I told you this is Winstanley's last, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart's last hurrah, and at the same time, I told you why sacking Poch was good and Enzo Maresca could potentially be good. So I try to give you as much perspective. Yeah.
Listen, you're American. Why are you talking about harass? Wouldn't it not be last chance saloon for you guys? Because you have saloons in America, right?
What?
Shouldn't you be saying it's not the last hurrah for what's it called with Stanley? It should be the last chance saloon for with Stanley and Stewart.
Americans say last hurrah.
No, they don't. They say last chance saloon, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Wait, I forgot. Ahmed's American, and he lives in America, and he's lived in America his whole life. I forgot. Yeah, you're right. You know what, Ahmed? Yeah, you know what, Ahmed? You could take over the show. How about that?
You know what it is, man? I also forgot Marshall's Peruvian, in it. So again, he's not American, really. But listen, this is obviously with Stanley Stewart's last chance saloon. You know what I mean? Again, guys, you know, Marsh was provided his unbiased, his biased waffle, his biased school of thought, his biased opinions. You know what I mean? He lied about his opinions. He lied about Pochettino. He lied about Tuchel. He lied about Maresca. That's what I'm going to say.
And I also lied about having you finish the show off. So, no, big up to everyone. Big up for everyone attended today. Subscribe, like the video, all that stuff. Be sure to check out the links in the description and check out our memberships. At the end of every show, we give out shout outs. We give out shout outs at the end of every show for our proper casual and higher tiered members. That's going to go out to B-Man, JC, Ishi, EE, Hassan Nawaz, Uncle Gestures FC, Will, OG Turbo Jesus, Dark, Adrian, Pelu, Coco 624, The Danzo, Gabriel A, Adib, Eki Sitid, Joel. I think A Solomon joined today, and there was a few other ones that joined today that I'll write down for the next show and have you guys ready. But big up to the guys who earned their gifted memberships today, and big up to A Solomon for those gifted memberships, and everyone else who super chatted as well.
Where's my gifted membership?
I don't know. For some, YouTube is weird. It works really weird with gifted memberships. It gives it back to people who have been gifted memberships. I don't know why. It should be really random, but it is what it is.
Anti-black.
It is what it is. But ladies and gents, we're gonna go ahead and raid TJ Warren, Arsenal fan. Let him know that his team was only good enough to get second place. And yeah, he'll love that. But also be sure to cheer on for his downfall in FIFA, which he's playing FIFA right now. So, ladies and gents, thanks for being here. Be sure to come by tomorrow and tune in for the Casually FC Awards show. We have a great show planned for you guys. It's going to be fun and it's going to be original, okay? Because I don't think any channel has done something like this. And it's going to be fantastic. We're going to have a good time, right, guys? We're trying to be trendsetters.
We're going to get bitches. That's for sure. Marshall's going to get bitches.
We're going to get bitches. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful night. Copy and paste the right message. We'll see you tomorrow for the stream.
Oh, my God, man.
As always, stay casual. Later.